WWE was in Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada tonight, if you could believe it, for the first time for a pay-per-view since 1998. An event that I actually remember watching live. Rock bottom in your house. It had a buried alive match between Stone Cold Steve Austin and The Undertaker. And it had a WWE Championship match between The Rock and Mankind. And Owen Hart wrestled on that show, so that tells you how far back you would have to go. It's been a long time since WWE was in Vancouver. And honestly, based on the crowd reaction to a lot of the matches on the show tonight, it may be another 26 years before WWE goes back to Vancouver. They announced over 17,000 as the attendance tonight, making it the largest North American arena gate in WWE history. No surprise. I mean, if you look back at the entirety of this year, that really is the story of 2024. When we look back on this year, record after record after record has fallen as they have raised prices. The demand for the product has been sky high, and they have been setting records internationally, and they've been setting records here at home as well. So no big surprise there. And no big surprise that tonight's show was built around one match. It was built around the men's War Games match. It was Bloodline versus Bloodline, and that really was what this entire show was all about. It was about Roman Reigns reuniting with the Usos and Sami Zayn, having to go out and find a fifth man to be on their squad. Nobody wanted to team with Roman Reigns. And Paul Heyman, it took the wise man to come back to find that one guy who was willing to do a favor for a friend and stand side by side with Roman Reigns, and that man was CM Punk. And it just so happens that 1 year ago, at this event, CM Punk made his return to WWE after nearly 10 years away. And I can tell you right here off the bat, there was nothing tonight that even comes close to matching the moment that we got at the end of the show last year. So if you were wondering if we were going to get some kind of big surprise or a swerve or a twist of some kind, maybe during the main event or at the very end of the show, I'll tell you what, they teased it out. The way those guys were just sort of lingering around there at the very end, I mean, they wanted you to think, it felt to me, like something big was going to go down, and then nothing happened. They just went off the air. So you didn't get anything like that on the show tonight. Nothing was going to come close to that moment. That honestly is one of the biggest moments in Survivor Series history. So I wasn't expecting anything quite on that level. But there was no Rock. There was no heel turn. There was no backstabbing. There was no betrayal. When we look back at the Survivor Series in 2024, I think the way that I would sum it up, and this goes for men's War Games and women's War Games and really everything on the show, they played it safe. They played it straight and they played it safe. There was really nothing out of the ordinary. There was nothing to look at and go, oh my God, I can't believe that happened. Or some big twist. There was nothing like that. They played it safe. I figured coming into this show that the baby faces were going to go over on the men's side and the baby faces were going to go over on the women's side. That's exactly what happened in both the men's and the women's matches. But in the men's War Games match, the match delivered. I enjoyed the main event. That main event in many ways saved the show, which is not to say every other match on the show was bad. There was some really good stuff on the show, but that main event had to deliver because of how critical it was to this show. The whole promotion of this event was built around the Bloodline stuff. Cody Rhodes wasn't even on the show. There was no WWE Championship match on the show. No Cody Rhodes, no Kevin Owens. They're saving that for Saturday night's main event. It was all about Roman and Solo and their respective crews. And to that end, I thought that as predictable as it may have been, that the main event delivered. I wish I could say the same for women's War Games. Women's War Games this year was not good. It was not good. I did not enjoy that. The World Heavyweight Championship match was actually, I thought, a very good wrestling match. And there may be some people who are going to look at it and go, they were bored by it. But it was a match that was built around the psychology of an injury and a body part that Gunther worked over for most of the match. We got the predictable run-in at the end of that match from Finn Balor. You knew Finn Balor wasn't going to let it go. The last person in the world that he wants to see with that World Heavyweight Championship is Damian Priest. And unfortunately, what that meant was that we were going to basically get a repeat of the finish that we saw at SummerSlam. We had Gunther and Damian Priest at SummerSlam back in August, and Finn Balor got involved at the end, cost Damian Priest the match. You may as well push the rewind button. That's basically the exact same thing that we got here on this show. The U.S. title and the Intercontinental title. The tale of two title matches. Nothing wrong with the U.S. title match, but it wasn't anything exciting. It wasn't anything special. It was, as I sometimes describe these things, a TV match. It was a match that could have been held on SmackDown. On the other hand, the Intercontinental Championship, that title has not been defended on a PLE since SummerSlam. That title does not get nearly the love that it deserves on these bigger shows. So I was happy to see this match get added, and I'm glad it was, because this show needed a match like that. This show was on the fast track to nowhere until that triple threat match, and that triple threat match was fucking great. No title change. Again, no big surprise. But those three guys went out there, they beat the hell out of each other. They had a great match with some great near falls. That was the first great thing on this show tonight. And that was it. I mean, again, Triple H likes to keep these cards kind of short and sweet. At least we got two mid-card titles defended on the same show. That doesn't happen all the time. I have to give this show a thumbs up overall on the whole. I will tell you, though, this was still one of the weaker WWE PLEs of the entire year. And they have put together some very strong shows. It's a credit to them that they've had a lot of really, great shows this year. This will not be in the top 5 of those shows when this year is over. And it basically is, because this was the last PLE of the year. Saturday night's main event may be treated like one, but it's an NBC special. This was the last PLE for 2024, and it will not go down as one of the best shows that they have done all year, but there was enough good on this show for me to give it a thumbs up. That's how I would sum up Survivor Series. But this is your Survivor Series 2024 review. It is Saturday, November 30th, 2024. I am the Solomonster. Thank you for joining me. This is the final day here for the month of November, and we have been celebrating 17 years of the Sound Off all November long. So from me to you, I say thank you. Here, only a few days after Thanksgiving. I want to thank you guys for supporting me, not only for 17 years, but all throughout the month of November, including tonight. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Super chats are open. You will very shortly be seeing them pop up on your screen. We have a goal that we have set in the live chat with a little bonus. If we hit that super chat goal, you can check it out there. And of course, I will be reading all of your messages. So don't fret, don't worry. We will be going through all your messages. I want to hear from you. What did you think of Survivor Series tonight? Yay or nay? What did you like? What did you hate? Do you agree or disagree? So chime in and let me know. Of course, we have 2 War Games matches, and you got to separate them. And they weren't going to open with the men's War Games match. You knew that. So we opened this show here tonight with women's War Games. Abusika says Bukaki.
I'm the Bukaki ghost.
And the ghost.
Oh my goodness.
Welcome.
Oh my.
You know what? The night can't begin until the ghost climaxes posthumously. It's one of my favorite super chats. I don't know what that says about me, but I am glad that we are seeing that early here in the stream. So Matt, thank you. Mr. Wrestling or RRR Wrestling, thank you as well for the $9.99.
I love you, Solo. You are my tribal chief.
We're going to be talking about that guy a little bit later on, because that guy was in his very first War Games match tonight, and boy, did he make the most of it. But let's start with the women before we even get into any of that. When you hear the siren, it means that the cage is coming down. It means that War Games is about to begin. And indeed, that could only mean one thing. We had women's War Games to open the show here with Team Ripley against Team Morgan. On the babyface side, we had Rhea Ripley, Bianca Belair, Io Sky, Bayley taking the place of the storyline injured Jade Cargill, and Naomi. They took on the team of Liv Morgan, Nia Jax, the 2 women's champions, Raquel Rodriguez, Tiffany Stratton, and Candice LeRae. So they each got their own entrances. This match did not begin until we were 20 minutes into the show. So again, you know why Triple H likes to keep these shows to 5 or 6 matches, because they want to give as much time as possible to all of the entrances. Michael Cole claimed that this was Tiffany Stratton's first time inside a cage. Even though I sat here at the beginning of this year reviewing the Elimination Chamber, and not only was she in the Elimination Chamber, Tiffany Stratton was one of the stars of that Elimination Chamber match. She was more over, I think, than anybody in the match. So this was not her first time inside of a cage. I don't know how you could forget that. She was the star of the show. Rhea Ripley was out, and she was wearing a protective mask because, again, she's had the orbital injury. But she didn't just come out with the regular black mask that she's been wearing the last few weeks. She came out with this. A half skull mask with horns on it. How badass is that? I assume B4B means back for blood. None of that, by the way, in War Games in either match tonight. But how badass is that? No, it's not Luchasaurus. It's Rhea Ripley. Luchasaurus wishes he looked this good. I tell you what, if they make a Rhea Ripley mask figure with this, they're going to make so much fucking money off of them, it's not even funny. I'm sure this was a one-night thing, but my God, you want to make money off of this. Let her come out, even if it's just for her entrance. Even if she really doesn't need to wear the mask anymore, she needs to come out and wear this mask more often. Because that's a pretty badass mask. So Bayley wanted to start for her team. Nia Jax started for the opposing team, which was quite the choice, I will say. You know, basically, this match ended up going almost 40 minutes, which means Nia Jax worked a 40-minute match. Now, unless she was in a Royal Rumble that I don't remember that she lasted 40 minutes in, this had to be the longest match of this woman's career. Why you would want Nia Jax at a 40-minute match, I have no idea. But they had her open the match here with Bayley. Now, remember, in War Games, the match does not officially begin until all 10 members have been called and they have entered the cage. So there were no pinfalls and no submissions until everybody is in the match. Pretty uneventful for the first 5 minutes. Naomi was the first person out of the shark cages since the babyfaces won the woman advantage in the advantage match on Monday night. She immediately grabbed a multicolored kendo stick from underneath the ring and a toilet seat. A toilet seat being a very appropriate object, I think, for this match. Given what I thought about the majority of it. I don't know what a toilet seat was even doing underneath the ring. I know one thing, I certainly wouldn't want to put my fucking hands on it. I wouldn't want to touch that thing, not knowing where it was, but we had a toilet seat here in this match. Actually, since we had a toilet seat, I should probably give it the appropriate sound effect. Yes. Again, appropriate sound effect for the majority of this match. Candice LeRae was in next. She cut in front of Tiffany Stratton, who looked like she was ready to bust out of that cage. She wanted to come to the aid of Nia, but Candice beat her to the punch. And she, too, went immediately under the ring for some toys that she could bring in to the cage with her. And I have to say this, you know, they did this last year, too, and this has become the norm now. And it's not just a problem with the women, it's a problem with the men's War Games as well. And even other companies that do their version of War Games, you know, TNA has their lockdown matches and MLW, all these promotions, they do their own version of War Games. And this has become the norm where we have to introduce weapons into every single match. If they're not already inside, attached to the side of the cage, some promotions do that. The first thing we have to do when we come out of the cage and we get down to the ring is we have to go under the ring and we have to take out all the weapons and we have to take out all the goodies underneath to bring inside of the cage with us. And I don't know why this is something that has to be just an automatic, but it's become an automatic and it's completely ridiculous because you have these people who come down to the ring and the first thing they do, like their partner or partners could be getting their asses kicked inside. Oh, well, I have to look for my toys first. I got to go under the ring. Oh, it's not over there. Let me check over here. Meanwhile, their partner could be getting disemboweled in the middle of the ring, and it wouldn't even matter. It's completely ridiculous. It's totally overdone, and I wish they would dial it back. I'm not saying no weapons at all in war games, like just a fucking, like a ban on it, a moratorium on all weapons in war games. People always pop for the table spots. That's an easy pop. It's ridiculous. Every single woman who entered this match, at least from the shark cages, had to bring something into the ring with them. Every single time. A lot of the men did too, but not all of them. Every single one. Ridiculous. And it's a crutch. It's a crutch. Can't have a War Games match without weapons? Guess what? You shouldn't be having a War Games match. Nia Jax ended up with a chair. She was swinging it, the weakest chair shots that you will ever see. Now, I have given praise to Nia Jax recently because Nia Jax actually has had the best run of her career this year. Okay, 2024 will go down as the best year of her career. And she has had some really good match. She had a really good match on SmackDown a few weeks ago in Naomi. She had a good match the other night with Bianca Belair. That was the woman advantage match. So I've given her praise, but I'm watching her here in this match. Maybe she was having an off night. She looked terrible in this fucking match. She looked out of it. She looked like she was lost at times. There were other spots that were just sloppy. Chair shots that were so weak. Why would you even throw a chair shot if you're going to throw them like that? It makes the whole thing just look so phony and so ridiculous. Seriously, and she wasn't the only one. Naomi also at one point was swinging the chair, and I'm like, my God. You see it memed sometimes. It was from like the dying days of WCW. There was an episode of Nitro where Hulk Hogan took a chair and he gave Conan, I think it was, a comically horrendous chair shot to the head. Like a little love tap on the head. And people still mock that to this day. This was along the lines of what that was. Seriously, if you're going to do stuff like that, don't even bother doing it. Just cut it out. Don't even bother. Don't even try it. So Bianca Belair was out next. And of course, what was the first thing that Bianca Belair did? She went under the ring, of course. So she retrieved a trash can, and she immediately fired it at Nia Jax. Then she went back to grab a fire extinguisher, and then a table, which legitimately got the first real reaction of anything in this match. Oh, I should mention that up to this point, the crowd was DEAD dead. Now, they tend to be on the quieter side in the first half of these War Games matches. In some ways, it is the fault of the War Games format. The War Games format, in some ways, you can make the comparison, I think, to an Iron Man match. There are Iron Man matches where the crowd is dead for the first 20, 30 minutes, maybe more, of the match. Why? Because if you have two people in there who are having even a decent match, maybe it's not like a hot feud or whatever, but they're in there and they're having a decent match, they're having a good match, the people may not be into it because the people know the match is not going to end until they hit the 60-minute mark. So the stuff that happens in the first 10, 20 minutes, 30 minutes doesn't really matter. And I do think that is part of the problem here, where the War Games match does not technically begin until all 10 people have been called out. The bell will not ring to signify the official start of the match until all 10 people have been called in. So whatever happens here in the first several minutes of this match, in effect, I don't want to say it doesn't matter. I mean, you can wear down the other, opponents, but it really doesn't matter. So that is part of the problem. It affects the men and the women sometimes, but the women's match in particular tonight, these people did not give a shit. Not one single solitary shit for the first half of this match. I was freaked out a little bit because, first of all, it's a major event, obviously, and it's a War Games match, but they're in Canada. And I know that it's been 26 years since they've been in Vancouver for a major event. Although you would think 26 years, these people would be going out of their minds and losing their minds. But it's Canada, and Canada traditionally has some of the most boisterous, energetic, loud fans anywhere in the world. Can't say that about Vancouver tonight. You might be able to say that about Toronto and Montreal and other parts of Canada. And hey, much love to all my Vancouver fans out there, but I don't know that they're going to be going back to Vancouver again anytime soon. Because it wasn't just a product of this match either, but it was very noticeable here. This crowd was dead. So Tiffany Stratton entered next, and she got a big pop. And she comes down to the ring, and she goes under the ring, and what does she do? She grabs a trash can lid and brings it into the cage with her. Io Sky was the next entrant, and she ran to ringside. She searched under different sides of the ring before pulling out a painted trash can, and it had a string, like a strap, attached to it. This was her personal trash can that she obviously rigged up here for this match, and she put the string over her shoulder, and she begins to ascend the side of the cage. And she climbs up, and she places the trash can. When she gets to the top, there's like a small platform, right? Because they know people are they're gonna dive. So let's put a little platform up there to make it a little bit easier for them. So she places the trash can on top of the little platform up there. Candice LeRae now is climbing the cage to try to cut her off. She meets Io. Io fights off a suplex attempt, and then she tries for a sunset bomb, but she misses it. Like she goes over and she lands on her feet, but she lost Candice. I'm not sure if that was the intent or not. It didn't look like it. So Candice is still, holding on to the side of the cage. Io knocks Candice down, and then she hits her with a missile drop kick off the top rope. Raquel Rodriguez, Liv Morgan's, her insurance policy, is next to enter the match. She pulls out a table from underneath the ring. I wonder when they were in the back, if each woman had like a card, like a flash card that was assigned to them. Okay, here are the weapons that you bring out. Here are the weapons that you bring out. You're going to bring out a table. You're going to bring out a trash can. You're going to bring out a fire extinguisher. You're going to bring out two things, right? Everybody remember what you're supposed to bring out. It's like going to school. Your first day of school, you got to bring school supplies, right? The parents would have to buy supplies. You got your compass. You got your protractor. You got your ruler. You got your calculator. All right, you got everything you need. It's just ridiculous. So Raquel pulls the table out, leaves it there just to taunt the crowd. So whatever it was that she was looking for, she didn't find it, and she just got into the cage. So now Rhea Ripley is in next. Rhea Ripley immediately slides a table into the cage. Naomi hits a double rear view on Nia and Raquel, and the baby faces are battering the heels with various weapons, including Bianca using her braid. Rhea used her mask as a weapon by headbutting Nia several times. Rhea looks at her wrist as if she's counting down the time, because we know that Rhea Ripley is awaiting the arrival of Liv Morgan. Liv Morgan is the last heel left in the shark cage. And Rhea is just counting down the seconds here. So the fifth and final entrant for the heel team is Liv Morgan. She comes out of the cage slowly. She's very hesitant. And she looks very fearful. While Rhea is the only woman standing now in the ring, and she's waiting for her. So instead, Liv, she exits. She goes back down the aisle. It's like they had like a short aisleway tonight. She comes back out. She has a baseball bat. So she brings the baseball bat to the ring with her. And we are now almost 30 minutes into this match. Once Liv Morgan enters, and we finally get the announcement from Alicia Taylor that the War Games match can now begin. So now the match is officially underway. Rhea then removes her mask. And she's got, black makeup all over her face, but the skull mask now has been thrown aside. The heels all gang up on her. They hold her arms, and Liv Morgan hits her repeatedly in the ribs and then in the back with the baseball bat. Io Sky, meanwhile, climbs to the top of the cage where she left her trash can from earlier. At the same time, on the opposite side, well, really the same side, but the opposite end of the cage, in the other ring, Tiffany Stratton has climbed up, and there's also a little platform up in that corner. So now Tiffany is standing up there, and she's waiting very patiently as she looks over at Io on the other side. And Io Sky takes the trash can, places it over her head. We've seen this before, Okay, this is not new. We have seen Io Sky do this spot actually numerous times before. And it gets a reaction, but it's nothing new. She places the garbage can, and this is very dangerous. Like, she has more balls than most people would. Has more balls than I would. Because she puts it over her body, basically, half her body. She's going to dive, right? She's a good 15 feet in the air. Blind as a bat, can't see a fucking thing. And she's going to moonsault through the air. And she's got to nail this thing. Now, you need, obviously, the cooperation of the people down below. They have to be in the right position. But how scary must that be? To just literally be flying blind and not know how you're going to land, if you're going to overshoot your target, where you're going to land. You might hurt yourself. You might hurt somebody else. She came out of it okay, though. She did a moonsault off the top, wiped out a bunch of wrestlers below. Meanwhile, after she hits that spot, Tiffany Stratton, now it's her turn. And Tiffany Stratton executes a swanton bomb onto another group of wrestlers in the other ring. I just love how Tiffany waited patiently for Io to do her spot so that she can go ahead and do hers. Isn't that nice? Nothing screams war games like some polite cooperation. So Stratton removed various objects from a trash can that was in the ring, and she pulls out her Money in the Bank briefcase. And I'm thinking, okay, here we go. Finally. This is now going to finally get interesting to me. Pulls out the Money in the Bank briefcase. That gets a big pop. Stratton is looking down on the mat. The two women's champions are unconscious. They're laid out next to each other. Liv Morgan is right there. Nia Jax is right there. This woman has her pick of who she wants to cash in her briefcase on. And as she's trying to decide here, Raquel comes over and Raquel starts arguing with her because she sees she might cash in on Liv. So Raquel now is like, what are you doing? And as this is going on, Io Sky sprays them both with a fire extinguisher, thus extinguishing this Money in the Bank potential cash-in. Also, I should mention Raquel had been, unbeknownst to her, she was handcuffed to the ropes by Rhea Ripley. So Nia Jax hits a Samoan drop and then a leg drop on Bianca Belair, and she goes for the pin. Bayley and Io break it up. Bayley and Io, who once were partners in Damage Control, and they're partners in this match, they have a very tense exchange until Nia puts them both down with a double clothesline. Nia places Bianca on top of a table, and she goes to the middle rope. She's going to hit her finish. Bianca Belair, though, gets up off the table, cuts her off, and then she and Naomi team up to powerbomb Nia Jax through the table, and they fold her up. Naomi covers her. Liv Morgan, though, hits her with the baseball bat to break up the pin. So Bianca takes the bat away from Liv, and she chases Liv with a chair, runs right into a big boot from Raquel. Morgan hits Bayley with an oblivion onto a chair, sort of. I mean, that was the idea. Ripley breaks up the pin. She headbutts Liv. She sets up for her finish. And Raquel pulls Liv Morgan down. Liv uses a chair while performing a codebreaker on Rhea Ripley. And then Liv places Rhea on a table. She goes to the ropes. Rhea recovers. And she joins Liv Morgan on the ropes. Ripley then blocks an oblivion attempt. And then hits Liv Morgan off the top rope with a riptide through a table. And she pins Liv Morgan to win War Games for her team. I'm going to give it to you straight here. I mean, this certainly picked up in the second half as compared to the first half. That's low praise. I hated this. I did not like this match. The second half, better than the first. Again, that's not saying much. Outside of the annual obligatory Io Sky, garbage can dive off the top of the cage, there was no reason, and I've been saying this for a couple weeks now, okay? This is nothing new. This is not some epiphany that I got while I was watching this show. The epiphany came to me 2 weeks ago when this was first announced. This did not need to be a War Games match. They were fortunate to get Rhea Ripley back in time to be a part of this, because it was really all about Rhea and Liv. Team Rhea against Team Liv. This did not need to be a War Games match. This was a forced War Games match that would have, I think, benefited from being a traditional Elimination Rules Survivor Series match. Now, in a traditional Survivor Series elimination match, you don't have the benefit and the crutch of no disqualification, unless you add a no disqualification stipulation, which wouldn't make a whole lot of sense, because if you had a no disqualification stipulation, then why even bother making tags, right? It would just be a tornado tag match. So I understand why maybe they didn't want to do it. They don't do any Survivor Series elimination matches anymore. They could have done one on this show with the Final Testament and the Wyatts. But again, I guess they had the number of matches that they were going to have. They wanted the long entrances, so there was no time for it. In a match like that, you would not have been able to use all the weapons they used. This is what I mean when I call it a crutch. You don't always need to use weapons to try to get the match over. If you can't go in there, or if the company feels like you can't go in there and have a traditional match built around a story of some kind, that you have to rely on tables and plunder and chairs and garbage cans and bullshit, then there's something wrong. There's no reason this could not have been a traditional elimination match, and you build stories around that. Around the elimination aspect of things, you could have it come down to Rhea Ripley and Liv Morgan. They're the sole survivors for each of their teams, and you do the finish exactly the way you did here. Rhea Ripley can hit a riptide off the ropes to Liv Morgan and pin her, and she's got a win now over the Women's World Champion. This match should have been a traditional elimination rules match, not a War Games match. This was not necessary. And it was sad looking at a crowd that, for the most part, was sitting on their hands while these women are in there and they're using weapons and they're hitting each other with all kinds of stuff, and nobody gives a shit. Nobody cares. You look at the men's War Games match, there was a story there. Two rival family factions. The Bloodline, this was like a blood feud here between these two crews that were going at it, trying to pay off a story that's been going on now for months in this company. So you could justify, okay, War Games this year. We've been saying this for months. Of course, you're going to get Bloodline against Bloodline in War Games. Everybody was calling this fucking 6 months ago. That was a no-brainer. But this was cobbled together in the last few weeks. Would have been cobbled together either way. But for War Games, no, not at all. As far as, Rhea Ripley and Liv Morgan, this feud has also been going on for a very long time. And it's about time that they kind of blow this off and move on. I mean, this had a lot of juice earlier in the year, and it's got a little bit of juice left, but not much. This is not something that they can carry on until WrestleMania. This is something that needs to be blown off. If not, it's Saturday night's main event. Maybe the first Raw on Netflix on January 6th. Maybe you save Rhea Ripley and Liv Morgan for that show, because remember, Io Sky, this was after Rhea got hurt, Io Sky won a battle royal to become number one contender. And nothing has happened. It's like no one even mentions it hardly at this point. But she's next in line. She's got to get her championship match first. So they have to first do Io and Liv before they can do Rhea and Liv, which they should do because Rhea just pinned Liv tonight. But they got to get through that match first. So it's like a foregone conclusion already that Io is going to lose to Liv. It kind of sucks. Takes the drama out of that. But once they get past that, they could do Rhea and Liv. January 6th, maybe even the Royal Rumble, but that's where it needs to end. And then they can move on to the next with Rhea Ripley. There's only so much more they can do at this point. WrestleMania is far, far too long away to drag this out until then. I'm sorry. But they took the next step to getting us to what should be the final match between Rhea and Liv Morgan. It's only a matter of when. When do they choose to do that match? But the other reason I look at this match and I'm just like, I didn't like this match was fucking boring, is the fact that there was nothing about it. They had the chance to do some fun stuff and they didn't do it. Jade Cargill was supposed to be in this match. She got bounced because of the injury angle that they shot. Bayley took her place. Now, I can understand if they want to save the reveal for television or they want to save it for, several weeks from now and not pay it off on this show because it just happened. All right, cool. I understand that. But there was nothing. There was there was a little bit of a hint of some, bad blood between Bayley and Io, but that was it. There was really nothing even teased involving Naomi or Bayley or Bianca or anything like that. And okay, fine. But you had Tiffany Stratton in there, teasing a Money in the Bank cash-in. How many times are we going to get the Tiffany Stratton tease? Every week. Every week, every other week, it feels like we are getting a Tiffany Stratton Money in the Bank tease. How many more months are they going to do this? They had an opportunity to do something pretty fun and pretty unique tonight, which has never been done before, which is have a Money in the Bank cash-in in War Games. It was right there. It was there for the taking, and they didn't do it. So I look at what they did here in this match, and again, they played it safe. As I said at the beginning, they played it straight and they played it safe. There were no surprises. There was really nothing to look at and point to and go, okay, wow, that was kind of different and kind of unique. Nope, it was more of the same. I like the finish. Rhea Ripley putting her through the table with the, with her finish with Riptide, I thought was a cool finish. But I did not like this. This was a swing and a miss this year with women's War Games. I'm sorry. Up next, we have the United States Championship on the line. Shinsuke Nakamura challenging LA Knight. Triple H now has rebooted Nakamura. Nakamura now has updated entrance music. It's the same song, but it's a remix version of it. Gunther is with us.
Jerry Lawler loves Gunther, the Magnificent.
My friend.
All hail Gunther.
Gunther is with us.
It's the amazing Gunther.
So nice we had to have it twice.
Jerry Lawler loves Gunther, the Magnificent. All hail Gunther.
Oh my goodness. Natasha getting in on the fun as well. You love to see it. We got some bombs coming in. By the way, I just noticed that that little goal that I set in the live chat, it appears we have hit the goal. We have achieved the goal, which means that we are going to get a bonus edition of Be the Booker tonight. I'll tell you what I'm going to do, though, because I didn't think we were going to set this goal this early. I'll tell you what I'm going to do, though. We'll set another goal. This will be fun. We'll set another goal. And for this one, I'm trying to think now, what can we do to kind of sweeten the pot a little bit? You know what? We had 2 War Games matches tonight, right? I'll tell you what we'll do. And this might be tough to hit, but if we hit this goal, we're going to be booking ourselves some War Games matches tonight. That's what we're going to do. We're going to be doing a men's War Games match and a women's War Games match and Be the Booker, which I don't think we've ever done before. So there you go. That's the new goal now. Let's see what you got. All right, we're going to get back to these in a minute. LA Knight and Shinsuke Nakamura. Now, if you watched SmackDown last night, Nakamura has this new remix of his entrance music. It's pretty badass. I actually like it. I said last night, it's nice to be able to come on here and actually talk about entrance music that has been changed for the better, right? And again, I love his traditional entrance music, but they didn't screw it up. It's actually pretty badass. I like the beat. And he's got the new look, and again, it's nice to put a fresh coat of paint on things sometimes. Nakamura's been there forever. He has not been pushed at a serious level, literally in years, okay? Years. Now, last year when he feuded with Cody, they started doing those subtitled promos, which are well done, and I think that's the way to go with him, and I enjoy those. But how many times have we been led to believe that maybe they're going to do something with him and then they don't? Yeah, I've kind of given up on that. The ship has sailed. That was my attitude coming into the show. I knew it wasn't an impossibility that they would take the title off of LA Knight, but it wasn't something I was expecting. I just figured, okay, it's a challenger for him to go in there and beat. So he comes out, his new entrance. Crowd was quiet for most of this also. Knight was sprayed by the black mist on SmackDown last night. He got misted. And so the story of this match here is that, he was selling that he's a little off of his game and, he's not quite his usual self. At one point, Knight busted out a burning hammer. It's the safest version of the burning hammer that I've ever seen, but he hit a burning hammer. Knight tried a leaping superplex, but Nakamura saw it coming and hit an avalanche reverse exploder for 2. Knight avoided a Kinshasa and hit his double jump elbow from the middle rope to the top rope and came flying off with the elbow drop. He set up for the BFT instead of going for the cover. Nakamura rolled in between the 2 rings onto the metal plate. Each match, they try to keep the match in 1 ring. So he rolled in between the 2 rings here, and they have that metal plate in between. And Knight went after him. Nakamura raked the eyes, hit a reverse DDT onto the metal plate. Hit the back of his head on the way down. So Nakamura followed that with a Kinshasa to the back of the head, and he pinned LA Knight. That kind of came out of nowhere. People were stunned. I was pretty shocked myself, I'm not going to lie. And for the 3rd time in his career, Shinsuke Nakamura is now the United States champion. I believe that this might have been the first time that a WWE title of any kind has changed hands in Vancouver. So if that is the case, and I believe that is the case, that would mean that they made history tonight. I got to be honest with you. I wouldn't be surprised if somebody came up to Triple H and told him, hey, we've never had a title change in Vancouver before. And he just did it because they wanted to make history. Oh, really? We haven't had a title change here before? Well, I don't really want to take the title off Bron Breakker. So why don't we do a title change here? We'll just put it back on LA Knight in 2 weeks on NBC anyway. Would not at all be surprised if that's what went into this. I saw Fire Panda in the chat earlier, and I know Fire Panda is still with us. Shout out to Fire Panda, one of our great supporters here on the streams. And Fire Panda was so excited that Nakamura is once again a champion here in WWE. Said, we won, boys, we won. Yes. Yeah, it's like winning a check in a class action settlement. And then you open up the envelope, you look at the check, and it's for 17 cents. Yes, we won. So they did not give this championship to Andrade. They did not give this championship to Carmelo Hayes, who could have benefited from it, right? He's a star on the rise. Not that they don't have plenty of time to put a belt on him. I mean, he just debuted on the main roster this year. But they went out there, they had that great best of 7 series, all those great matches they had on TV. And I'm watching SmackDown last night, and Nakamura gets a win in his match over Andrade. The 2 men in the best of 7 series were on job duty last night. Carmelo Hayes lost to Cody Rhodes. Now it's Cody Rhodes, so, it's the WWE champion, understandable. But he lost, and Andrade lost, and Nakamura won. And Nakamura is the one who ends up with the U.S. title, even after all those great matches that those 2 guys had. So here we have a guy who has not been on television before last night in a match since February. He had not been on television up until recently since April. And they decided to put the championship on him. That's certainly a choice. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that it's a horrible choice. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I'm terribly excited that he is the U.S. champion again. It just feels like, okay, Nakamura has once again reached the peak that he hit 5 years ago, which was the last time he held the United States Championship. Do I think this is the beginning of some kind of Shinsuke Nakamura renaissance here in WWE? I don't. Let's be honest about LA Knight's title run. Can we be honest here for a second? Right? We're always honest with each other here. You can trust my word here, and I tell you what I feel. I let it all out, right? I lay it all out there for you on every stream. That's why I said the Women's War Games match, I hated it. I didn't like it this year. LA Knight's title run as U.S. champion was very underwhelming. And I'm not going to sit here and blame LA Knight for that. I think LA Knight has made the most of the opportunity he's been given, but he can only do so much with the people that he is programmed to work with. The problem is that LA Knight has not had that Joker to his Batman in the way that he did with Logan Paul. Like, that rivalry was perfect, right? 2 guys who can talk. Logan Paul, full of himself, had legitimate heat. people wanted to see the championship off of him, so they naturally gravitated to LA Knight because he was the cool guy here in this feud, and they wanted so badly to see him beat Logan Paul, and when he did, it was this great moment at SummerSlam. And he has not had anybody like that since. It's been a few months, and he doesn't have that person. And I'll be honest with you, when I look at the SmackDown roster right now, I still don't see who that person is. They have this lack of real credible challengers right now on the heel side for him. So what they're doing right now with Nakamura is not going to have this championship for a long period of time. He may lose it in 2 weeks. He may drop it right back to LA Knight on Saturday night's main event. He may drop it right back to him at the Royal Rumble, which is the next PLE. That's about as far as I could see Nakamura holding that title. And there's nothing wrong with shaking things up a little bit and taking the belt off LA Knight and having him chase for it. I don't have an issue with that. I've recommended they do that with Cody Rhodes. Like, I'm in favor of putting the title on Kevin Owens in 2 weeks. So I don't have a problem with that. The problem is, when you put the belt back on LA Knight, who's next? Who's that next credible heel challenger that they have set up for it? I don't know. I don't know that they exist. That's the problem. So even if you put the belt back on LA Knight, you're going to be in the same boat that you were in before. So if they want if they want Nakamura to win the championship and just, hold it for a few weeks and then LA Knight chases and wins it back, there's no harm in that, but you're going to be in the same boat that you were in previously. That's something that Triple H needs to address. We go from the United States Championship match, which was a television match, very basic at best, to a match. Honestly, this may have been my favorite match on the entire show. I think I may have enjoyed this more than I did the main event. Seriously. I will sit and ruminate on this later tonight, but my first instinct tells me that I had more fun watching this match than anything else on this show. It was a triple threat match for the Intercontinental Championship, with Bron Breakker defending his title against Sheamus, who has never held this championship before, and Ludwig Kaiser. This was set up on TV last week. Adam Pearce made it official. This was the first defense of the Intercontinental title on a PLE since SummerSlam. We had chants early on here of "Let's go Sheamus." These people in Vancouver wanted so badly to see this man walk out with that championship, the title that he has never won before. A common person. Thank you for the kind words. I appreciate you. I appreciate all 1,800 plus that are joining me right now. You guys rock. Thank you. You know who else rocks? Sheamus rocks. He'll rock you with those knee strikes, man. He'll rock you with those fucking forearms, okay? That's one of the things I loved about this match. These guys laid their shit in. Kaiser wedged the chair in between the ropes at one point, only to turn around. He didn't realize that the champion was breathing down his neck. And he turned around, he saw Bron Breakker and Sheamus waiting for him, and they worked him over. Sheamus threw him over the top rope, and he set up for the 10 beats, but Bron Breakker clotheslined Sheamus out to ringside. So Breakker goes outside, and he sets up to charge at Sheamus, but Kaiser catches him with a sliding kick from inside the ring. Then outside, Kaiser kicks Sheamus up against the ring steps. Breakker comes back from out of nowhere. And when I say out of nowhere, I mean he came in from out of camera frame. And he hits this wild flying shoulder tackle to take down Ludwig Kaiser. A little while later, Sheamus and Kaiser, they're fighting over near the announce desk, right in front of the announce desk. And Bron Breakker, again from out of nowhere, he dives from the ring, from the apron of the ring, with a flying clothesline, and clotheslines both men over the desk. And it was so sudden that even Michael Cole on commentary couldn't help himself, and he let out a holy shit. He tried to stop himself, but he let out a holy shit on commentary. So then, Bron Breakker, he dumps Sheamus over the barricade, and Kaiser then takes out Bron Breakker. So then we got the old Keith Lee Finn Balor spot from NXT, which is so great. Actually, they repeated it twice. I think both times it might have been with Keith Lee, but because he may have done it in AEW as well. But the one I remember is in NXT, where Keith Lee is outside the ring. Finn Balor, I think, is setting up in the corner for a shotgun dropkick. And all you see is like a sea monster rising out of the sea. Behind Finn Balor is Keith Lee. Like the way they shot that was so great. And so they did something very similar here where Kaiser is gloating and he's kind of leaning up against the barricade. And then behind him, you see Sheamus slowly rising to his feet. Kaiser has no idea. So Sheamus grabs him, gives him the 10 beats over the barricade. Breaker then comes over. He takes a swing at Sheamus. He avoided it. He gives the 10 beats then to Braun Breaker. So we got a "This is awesome" chant, deservedly so. This was already the best thing on the entire show. Easily. Up to this point, this was the best thing on the entire show. So far. Kaiser grabs a shillelagh, and Sheamus takes it away from him. He uses it to send Kaiser, almost like clotheslines him with it, in effect, over the Timekeeper's barricade. So that takes care of Ludwig Kaiser for a little while. Sheamus then rejoins Braun Breaker in the ring, and effectively for the next few minutes, this turned into a singles match. So Sheamus hit the Celtic Cross. He covered Breaker for a near fall. Short time later, Sheamus hits the Brogue Kick. He connects with the Brogue Kick, and he has the title won. And everybody is so excited, and he covers Braun Breaker. He gets a 2 count, and before the referee could hit 3, Ludwig Kaiser pulls the referee out to the floor. And this is perfectly legal in a match like this because there are no disqualifications. So he yanks the referee out of the ring. Everybody boos. In that moment, Ludwig Kaiser became the most hated man in all of Vancouver because they were deprived of a title change here. Sheamus had this championship won. Even Sheamus looks over at Kaiser. Kaiser's got this fucking grin on his face. Like he knows he just cost Sheamus again, right? Not the first time that's happened. So Sheamus goes out of the ring after him. But Kaiser batters him with a shillelagh. And he didn't just batter him with this shillelagh. I mean, he battered him with this fucking thing. He hit him with it over and over and over again to the point where you could see these bloody welts all over his pale body, right? On his arm, little blood on his arm, welts all over his back. The thing with Sheamus that's so great is when you hit him with a chair or you hit him with a shillelagh, you hit him with almost anything, the welts immediately show, right? I mean, he's so pale. I know the feeling. And so the welts immediately show up, the bruises all over his body. So both men end up back in the ring. Sheamus drills Kaiser, though, with a desperation knee strike before he could hit him again with the shillelagh, and he falls on top of him for the pin, but Kaiser kicked out at the last possible second. Sheamus then sets up for a brogue kick, but he sells the ribs. Kaiser puts Sheamus down with a DDT. He gets back up, but when he turns around, he gets cut in half by a spear. He cut this fucking guy in half. Breaker then follows that up with a spear on Sheamus. Sheamus took a little bit longer to get back to his feet, so Bron had to wait, and finally he spears him, and he pins Sheamus to retain the title. This, in a word, was excellent. Unlike the first match, I love this match. Talk about the tale of two matches here. This was great. All three men, they brought their A game here, and they beat the hell out of each other. This felt like a fight. That's what this was. I mean, this was a fight for the Intercontinental title. All three of these men wanted that championship. They were going to fight for it and do whatever it took. Sheamus came this close. He had the drama built around him wanting to win that title for the first time. And he came this close. He came within a hair. But Kaiser made sure that wasn't going to happen. And they had the crowd invested in it. So this is absolutely going to be a story that they need to tell going into WrestleMania. You saw how invested the crowd was in wanting to see Sheamus win that title. This is a WrestleMania-worthy story for Sheamus, right? You had Kofi Mania 5 years ago going into WrestleMania. This will be like Sheamus Mania. Only it has nothing to do with the World Heavyweight Championship. Been there, done that. The Intercontinental title, it has sentimental value to him. It's that one title he grew up watching the greats, Mr. Perfect and Randy Savage and Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels, all the people that I grew up watching, holding that championship. Sheamus, a little bit older than me, but like we grew up watching the same thing more or less. It's the one title he's never held. It's just such a basic, great story. And he's the elder statesman now in this company, and the people like him. And he's the most consistent, reliable performer they have in that entire company. He goes out there every week on TV and has banger after banger. You know he's good for it. You know he's going to go in there on a big stage like WrestleMania and kill it. Look what he and Gunther and Drew McIntyre did at WrestleMania last year. Need I say more? One of the best triple threat matches you'll ever see. This one tonight was in that same vein. 3 guys who went in there, beat the hell out of each other for the Intercontinental title. In the end, though, the champion retains. Same story, but it works. With the right people. But Sheamus is, always a bridesmaid in these situations and never a bride. Tell that story. I'm okay with them not putting the title on him tonight, provided that they're getting ready to do it on a much bigger stage. That's what I hope. And very interesting, if there was one thing that did surprise me, the outcome of the match didn't surprise me so much. But if there was one thing that surprised me about this, it was that Sheamus was the one who took the pin. They actually protected Ludwig Kaiser in a way by not having him take the pin in this match. So I thought that was kind of interesting. But Sheamus will have his day. And what a great day that will be. Hey, see Entertainment Media with the $32 Judgment Day interrupt. Remember the Judgment Day's music would interrupt about pretty much every week at one point on TV? It's not as bad now. Now they just interrupt here on these streams. But boy, the peak days of the Judgment Day, you'd hear that music every single week. Let's talk about a former member of the Judgment Day. He was up next. He was challenging for the World Heavyweight Championship, and that was Damian Priest taking on Gunther. This is a rematch from SummerSlam. Matthew is imagining Sheamus in a bridesmaid dress. Well, now that you put that in my head, I'm telling you, man, always a bridesmaid, never a bride when it comes to the IC title. That is Sheamus. So early in this match, Priest sold like he tweaked his shoulder on a shoulder tackle. So he took down Gunther, but he immediately went, and he grabbed his shoulder. And he was selling it, and the referee came over to check on him. Are you okay? And he waved off the referee, told him I'm fine. But he continued to sell the shoulder. At some point, Gunther was going to recognize what's going on here. And you see the look on his face like, oh. It's like blood in the water, right? He sees a weakness that he can exploit. And this became the story now for the remainder of the match, where Gunther went after the injured shoulder. This was old school psychology. You focus on a body part. If your opponent has an injury or is teasing they may have just hurt their arm or their knee or their leg or their neck, you target the body part. You work over that body part for the remainder of the match. It may go... Now, look, it made for a slow beginning to the match here. But if you follow the story they told here, it was a very basic story. It's a very basic build to this match. Damian Priest came into this match full of confidence. Gunther, the exact opposite. Last big match we saw him have was at the beginning of the month against Cody Rhodes. Crown Jewel, he lost. So the story of this match coming in is that Gunther, he lost his confidence. He's not the same guy ever since he lost to Cody Rhodes. Can Gunther find what's missing? Right? Very, very basic story. So Priest battled back, and he set up for a power bomb, but he couldn't do it with the bad arm. Priest transitioned into a triangle submission. Undertaker sitting at home, nodding his head in approval. Gunther leaned onto him in a pin attempt to try to force him to break the hold. Priest powered Gunther up for the razor's edge, but Gunther slipped out of it because, again, the arm is too weak. Can't hold him. Gunther put Priest in a sleeper briefly and then powerbombed him, only got a 2 count out of it. A short time later, Priest caught Gunther on the ropes and took him down with a Hurricane Rana. Priest followed up with the razor's edge, and then he covered Gunther for a close near fall. I do have to say, and this is just something I've observed, and I think Gunther is great. I really do. I think he's a throwback in many ways, but like he's great. And he's had a lot of great matches in his time in this company. One thing that he does that annoys me is, and it happens a lot, like almost every match he's in, he'll get hit with a move. Like here he got dropped with a razor's edge, right? And he doesn't sell it as far as like his facial expression. His eyes are open. He's just laying there. and he's looking and he's waiting for Priest to crawl over. And, you know, you kind of, if you follow his eyes, right, he's like, okay, crawl on top of me. And he's looking at the referee, and the referee counts 1 and the referee counts 2. And then he kicks out. It's like, it's one of those things that just, it might be a minor thing to most people. And I hate that he does it, of all people. There's some people who are really good, like they'll get dropped, let's say with a move, and they'll sell, like, they'll sell it, or their eyes are closed, like maybe they're out. And then, you cover them, and they're not looking up at the referee, kind of waiting until the referee gets to 2 3/4 and then kicks out. It's just something I've noticed about his matches that I wish he wouldn't do, but that's really the only critique I have, because Gunther is he's as complete of a pro wrestler as anybody in the business right now. But we all have our little pet peeves. I guess it would be a good way to put it. If I had one pet peeve with him, that would be it. So Priest went for a South of Heaven chokeslam, but his arm gave out. Gunther put him in a Kimura lock. Priest struggled, and eventually he got to the bottom rope. Gunther hit Priest with a short arm clothesline. Then he hit another one. Then he went for a third one, and Priest ducked it, dropped Gunther with a clothesline. Priest went up top. He got cut off when Gunther bounced into the ropes. He got cut off. Gunther joined him on the ropes. Priest grabbed him by the throat, though, setting up for a chokeslam. Gunther fought that off, and he tried for a superplex. Priest held the rope, and he shoved Gunther down to the mat. But when he shoved Gunther down to the mat, at the same time, Priest fell out of the ring. He fell to the floor outside and sold his shoulder again. And you could hear some people in the crowd started chanting, "You fucked up, you fucked up." And I don't think he did fuck up. It was by design. I guess they thought he fucked up, but it was by design. And when the referee went back in the ring, he went out to check on Gunther first. But when he went back in the ring to go check, or Priest rather, when he went to go check on Gunther in the ring, all of a sudden, guess who showed up outside the ring? There's Finn Balor. I was waiting for it. I said it's going to be Balor, or it's going to be all the members of the Judgment Day getting involved here. It's going to be SummerSlam all over again. Well, there was no JD McDonough. There was no Carlito. There was no Dirty Dom. But there was Finn Balor standing on top of the ring steps, and he comes off with the double stomp right on the ribs. Now, Gunther goes outside. He sees that Balor is here. He drills Balor with a big boot. He doesn't want his help. There's one thing about Gunther, even though he's a heel champion. He's not your typical heel WWE champion that we're used to seeing over the past few decades. He's not some chicken shit heel champion who hides behind people, who cheats in every match, who puts his feet on the ropes, who has people interfering on his behalf. It's one of the things that makes him unique. He's so different than your traditional heel champion has been for generations in this company. So he sees this guy getting involved. He's like, what the fuck are you doing out here? I could do this by myself. So he boots him in the face. And then he puts Priest back in the ring. He power bombs him. And then he locks him in a sleeper. Priest is fading and fading and fading, and finally he goes out. And the referee checks the arm. He's out. Referee calls for the bell. And we got the stoppage right around the 20-minute mark here in this match. This started slow, and the crowd was definitely quiet for the early half, really, of this match. But they got into the story of it. As it went along with Priest selling the injury, they got behind Priest. They rallied behind him. He was trying to fight through the pain. I mean, this was just pure wrestling psychology 101. And Priest did not tap out. He went out cold, but he did not tap out. Finn Balor getting involved, that was the predictable way to go. And Balor cost Priest here, which ends up benefiting Gunther. Exactly the way Gunther won the World Heavyweight Championship in the first place, even if he didn't ask for the help. That now gets us to another Finn Balor, Damian Priest match, even though I don't know if anybody was really asking for one. Since Priest beat him at Bad Blood, it's like, well, he already beat him. Right? What do we need to see it again for? The babyface got the win over the heel. The hell do they need to even run this back for? But the story has been that Finn Balor, he just has not been able to let it go. Right? He can't get over the fact that Priest beat him and Priest has been world heavyweight champion and he hasn't been recently, and now he was getting another title match. Like, he just couldn't handle it. That's why we saw him here in this match. I'm more interested in what's next for Gunther. I think that's the bigger question, right? We know Balor and Priest, they're going to go off and do their thing. What is Gunther going to do now? We're in this weird period now where there's no PLEs next month. There is a Saturday night's main event. And we know there's a WWE title match on that show. We don't know if there will be a World Heavyweight Championship match on that show. Royal Rumble is not until the beginning of February, right? We got the big Netflix debut coming up at the beginning of January. What's next for Gunther? You know, is it going to be Seth Rollins? Is it going to be CM Punk? Is it going to be Bill Goldberg, which is a match they already teased? Is it going to be Goldberg and Gunther? Or, as I don't think the Damian Priest is done yet. And they may run this back again, but this time with a stipulation. Or, we may end up getting a triple threat match out of this. Balor wants that world championship just as much as Damian Priest does. Gunther booted Balor in the face. That may come up on Raw this Monday night. Gunther may have no love lost for him either. And remember, because I haven't forgot, one of the things that COVID took from us was the Gunther, at the time he was still Walter, the Walter Finn Balor match that was supposed to take place at TakeOver Dublin many years ago. And I'm still sore that we never got that match. And these two, I think, have had maybe one or two television matches since then. And that's pretty much it. They had a TV match on Raw, I think, earlier this year. I've been waiting on that big match with Balor and Gunther. So why not get all three of them in the ring and just blow this off? Balor, Priest, and Gunther for the World Heavyweight Championship. I think that's probably what we're going to end up getting. Especially because I just don't know what else you do in the short term with Gunther. There's no other kind of next obvious opponent for him. I mean, they could always do some sort of tournament or battle royal, you know, on Raw to crown a number one contender. But, you know, Priest got screwed. He's got a case to be made for wanting one more shot at Gunther, but you got to factor Balor in there somehow. That's why I figure a triple threat may be what we end up getting. And if we get a triple threat, I think that could be an incredible match. Right? You get no argument out of me. So we'll see. We'll see what's up next. Shout out to the 1,900 of you joining me here live on a Saturday night. Hey, GS Houston. Thank you for the kind words. Thank you, sir. Thank you for 17 great years. You and everybody else. I see, by the way, we hit our second goal. You guys are unbelievable. We're going to have some fun. We're going to have some fun with those Be the Booker matches tonight. Yes, we are. And we're almost there. You know why we're almost there? Because we're already up to the main event here on this show. These cards are very different than the AEW cards. The AEW card, you get a lot of great wrestling, but you get a lot of it. And it takes a long time. At least with these shows, you know they're going to get you out of there in a decent amount of time. Because there's only 5 matches
It's
on the
the amazing Gunther.
They're very short.
Jerry Lawler loves Gunther, the Magnificent. All hail Gunther.
Very economical. Was that my boy Boots?
It's the amazing Gunther.
2 of them.
Jerry Lawler
2 of them.
loves Gunther, the Magnificent. All hail Gunther.
You know, if you had sent in 1 red one, it still would have counted towards the goal. Just so you know. So I know, like, usually if it's a magenta goal, people think, oh, it has to be magenta. It's actually magenta or higher. But he said, I'm gonna double dip here. I'm gonna send in 2 instead of just 1. Thank you, brother. Thank you very much. The main event of this show was the men's War Games match. Here we go. We got the OG Bloodline, Roman Reigns, the Usos, and Sami Zayn with CM Punk joining them because nobody else would. Taking on Solo Sikoa, Jacob Fatu, Tama Tonga, Tongaloa, and Big Bronson Reed. Here it is. Oh boy. You know what that means. Actually, I live in Brooklyn, so I hear that all the time, but that means War Games. That's what that means. We got the sirens. So Solo's Bloodline, they entered together. None of these individual entrances that take 20 minutes. They came out together. They showed a unified front. Tama Tonga started for his team. When he got into the cage, he climbs the cage and he starts crawling along the cage all around the ring like an animal, like a caged animal. There's something wrong with this boy. I don't know. There's something wrong with him up here. He ain't right. He makes those noises. Yeah. He makes those noises. He's crawling around. So the members of the OG team, they all got individual entrances. They all have massive egos. CM Punk did not get the final entrance. Roman Reigns did not get the final entrance. They gave the final entrance here for the OGs to Jey Uso, who started on the concourse. He came out through the crowd to his theme music. Everybody was bobbing up and down. The arena was going crazy here for Jey Uso. If you remember, he also entered last for his team in Saudi Arabia. And it may not seem like a big deal, but it shows the fans are still with him, number one, as, you know, a top guy. And it shows that the company is still behind him as a top guy. Even though now he's back with the Bloodline and he's back with his brother, it would be insane to just put the Usos back together and that's the end of Jey Uso's singles push, right? Jey Uso has proved himself this year to have staying power as a single star and a main event player on this show. You look at the crowd reaction when he's out there and everybody chanting YEET and everybody dancing along with him, his merch sales, we hear about he's one of the top merch movers in the company, making money for this company. He's proven his worth this year. So it's nice to see him, even after Roman Reigns and CM Punk, two of the biggest stars in the company, them and Cody Rhodes, that Jey Uso gets the treatment here. He gets the main event treatment of being able to come out last. That means something. That's not insignificant. No wise man, though. The wise man was not out there with them. So we started with Jey Uso and Tama Tonga. And it was pretty uneventful for the first 5 minutes. Bronson Reed was the first one out of the shark cage with Jacob Fatu winning the man advantage on SmackDown last night. That gave the heel Bloodline the man advantage here in this match. So Bronson Reed comes down to the ring. And he brings a bunch of chairs into the ring with him. So here we go again. Why does a 340-pound man need to bring chairs into the cage with him? Was that really necessary? I don't feel like he needs them. You could probably leave that to Tongaloa when he comes in. Although maybe, you know, with Tongaloa, maybe he thinks he'll bring the wrong thing into the ring, right? It was the chairs you were supposed to bring into the ring, and he brings in, you know, fucking bug spray or something. I don't know. Kind of a running joke with Tongaloa. But anyway, Jay picked up some chairs and started tossing them at Reed until Reed swatted one of them out of the air. So for the next 3 minutes, Jey Uso was in a bad way. He was outnumbered. He was basically having his ass handed to him. Until time expired, and then his brother Jimmy made his way down to the ring. And he did not waste any time in searching for weapons. I love this, by the way. This goes to what I talked about in the women's War Games match. His brother is having his ass handed to him in the middle of the ring. And Jimmy Uso is like, I gotta go shopping. So he goes searching underneath the ring. He's looking for some weapons. And, no, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Actually, Jimmy Uso did something that I wish everybody else in the match would have done. Jimmy Uso actually showed urgency because his brother was getting his ass kicked in the ring. To do it the other way would not have made any sense. So Jimmy Uso comes down to the ring. He raced right into the cage. No shopping, no searching. My brother is in trouble. I've got to go save him. Good for him. I like that. Jimmy gets into the cage. He takes out Tama Tonga. He takes out Bronson Reed. Both of them at the same time with a whisper in the wind. Fucking guy thinks he's Jeff Hardy out there. When was the last time that Jimmy Uso did a whisper in the wind? Has he ever done that before? The crowd reacted to it like they'd never seen him do that before. He got like a big pop for that. Even the announcers popped for it. So there was a random, but this was great. In the middle of all of this, right? It got quiet, and there was now maybe he wasn't loud. Maybe because it got quiet, it was just amplified more. But there was one fan in the crowd who you can hear chant, "Tonga Loa sucks," just out of nowhere. And that was pretty evil, because Tonga Loa wasn't even in the match yet. And yet this one guy felt, you know what? If I'm going to chant one thing here on this show, I can't even wait for him to get out of the shark cage. I'm just going to scream as loud as I can that Tonga Loa sucks. It's like, this poor guy. But then the time expired, and guess what? Guess who was ready to come out of the shark cage and come into this match? Solo Sikoa, though, stops Tonga Loa. He puts his hand out and he stomps him. And he summons the werewolf. He summons Jacob Fatu instead to come into the match. So Fatu gets inside the cage. He gets to work. When it came time for the next entrant, which was from the OG team, CM Punk was about to exit the shark cage, but Roman Reigns put his arm out to block his path. And he allowed Sami Zayn to enter the match instead. And Punk was not happy about that. CM Punk was not happy. He could read it on his face. And then the two of them are the only ones left locked in the cage. Punk goes to his side of the cage. Roman wouldn't even make eye contact. Like, as Punk is staring a hole through him, Roman would not even make eye contact with him. And then Punk goes to his side of the cage, and he just looks like a disappointed dad. Roman's on the other side, just looking straight ahead. Sammy got in. He came off the top rope, got caught by Fatu, but then Jimmy super kicked Fatu to save Sammy, and then Jimmy and Sammy did their old bloodline handshake to a big pop. But the good vibes did not last very long, and the heels took over. And not long after that, it was Tonga Loa's time to enter the fray. And of course, this fucker went under the ring to grab a table, and he fed it to Jacob in the ring, and then he went back to grab another table from underneath the ring, and they finally got inside. So now the fans are chanting for CM Punk. After the heels battered the faces a little bit more, it was time for the next entrant. And Roman Reigns was taking his sweet time getting his ass out of that cage. And he took a little too much time, because as Roman is about to exit the shark cage, very casually walk out, CM Punk brushed right past him. He went right by him, and CM Punk said, "I'm coming into the match next." And he marched down to the ring. Punk was about to enter the cage, but he stopped. And Solo's crew, they're in the ring and they're ready for him. And Punk stops and he looks back down the aisle at the shark cage where Roman is. And he starts to back down the steps. And I didn't know where this was going at first. I go, wait a minute. Is this part of the wise man's plan? What's going on here? But instead, he went under the ring and he pulled out a red toolbox. You know what would have been so great? I mean, the feud is over at this point, but I'd be lying if I didn't say this wouldn't have been kind of funny. He goes under the ring to grab the toolbox, and instead, Drew McIntyre is under there, because Drew McIntyre he can't let it go. And Drew McIntyre, Roman's still locked in the cage. He can't do anything, and Drew McIntyre comes out from under the ring, and he just starts to beat the fucking piss out of CM Punk. Like, you'll never be done with me. You got to admit, that would have been pretty funny. That would have been funny. But no, he pulls out the red toolbox. If you remember, we had the red toolbox in their Hell in a Cell match of Bad Blood last month. So he brings the toolbox into the ring with him, and he uses it as a weapon. Hits a running knee strike in the corner to Jacob Fatu, immediately transitions into the running Bulldog, and bulldogs Fatu onto the toolbox, and Jacob Fatu no-sells it, and immediately pops back up to his feet. And CM Punk has no idea. He's posing, he's doing the go to sleep and everything, and, which is kind of what I wanted to do in the opening match. He's like this, he turns around, and he sees that Jacob Fatu is on his feet. And Fatu catches him with a thrust, and then he propels him up into the air for a pop-up Samoan drop. Solo Sikoa was the last man out.
I love you, Solo!
Oh.
You are my tribal chief.
Perfect timing. Perfect timing. I'm telling you, Fatu is one of the stars of this match. This was his first War Games. He made the most of it. He definitely wanted to leave an impression. I think he did just that. Solo Sikoa was out last for his team. Exits the shark cage, but before he comes down to the ring, he turns to face Roman Reigns, who was the last man left, locked away on stage. And Solo says, now he's going to show him who the real tribal chief is. When he gets to the ring, he slams the cage door into Jay's head. He slams the cage door into Jimmy's head when they drag Jimmy over. Inside, he starts directing traffic. He orders Fatu to hit the moonsault to the Usos. He stacks the Usos up on top of each other. And then Fatu goes to the corner, and he hits the moonsault off the top onto both Usos. So then Bronson Reed goes up top, and he squashes Sami Zayn with a tsunami splash. Then they beat down CM Punk. Then Solo Sikoa padlocks the door shut to the cage. Now, if only there was a top on the cage. It's kind of a problem, you padlock the door shut, and it's like, it's kind of open up there, you know what I mean? But let's see what happens when Roman Reigns comes down to the ring. Surely Roman Reigns is looking at this and laughing and going, you stupid motherfuckers, I could just climb into the cage. Well, let's find out. We get the final countdown. Now, Bryan Danielson is not coming out. Roman Reigns comes out when the clock hits 0. He exits the shark cage, and Roman Reigns was released. 4 words that you will never, ever hear me utter again. Roman Reigns was released. That will never, ever happen. So he casually walks down to the ring. And what does this guy do? He tries to open the door. He tries to open the obviously padlocked door and comes to find that the door won't open. No shit, Sherlock. So he can't get in through the door. So now he's grabbing the cage and he's going like this. I don't know if he was expecting that the panel would just rip off. Does he think he is Mark Henry? So he's going like this. Oh my God, how am I going to get into this cage? I have no way into the cage. So then finally, it's almost like you could see the light bulb popping out of his head like in a comic strip. And he realizes, oh, I can climb. So he begins to climb the cage. I knew he'd figure it out at some point. So he starts climbing the cage. Tama Tonga was there to meet him, but he got knocked down. Same with Tonga Loa. Then Bronson Reed also tried to stop him from coming in, but Roman hit him, and then he actually fell, and he crushed himself on the top rope. Roman kicked Jacob Fatu away, and then Solo Sikoa got bounced off the side of the cage when he came after Roman. Roman then dives off the ropes and takes all 5 men out with a cross body block. Now, you know what? Marcus has a great point. He should have gone under the ring too. Roman probably would have found bolt cutters. I mean, everything else is under there. You got kendo sticks. You got all kinds of stuff under the ring. You got toolboxes. I'm sure they must have bolt cutters under there. He didn't bother looking for the bolt cutters. Roman helps Jay to his feet. Then he helps Sammy to his feet. He sees Punk on the ground, and he basically goes, whatever. He ignores Punk. Punk gets back to his feet on his own, and he gets up in Roman's face when all of a sudden, the wise man marches down to the ring. Here comes Paul Heyman. And I'm thinking, okay, something's going down here. I don't know what, but something is going to go down here. Comes down to the ring, and Heyman begins screaming that they had to bring the best out of each other. You got to bring the best out of each other. This is War Games, he says. It wasn't quite William Regal saying it, but he says, this is War Games, right? He's trying to rally the troops. He's trying to get everybody on the same page. The bell sounds, because now Roman is in the ring. The bell finally sounds, and Alicia Taylor announces the official start to War Games. So this match is only now just officially beginning. And the crowd was quieter for this than you would expect. But we had the face-off. We had 5 on one side in one ring. We had 5 on the other side in the other ring. And eventually a big brawl breaks out. Everybody's fighting. The OG bloodline begins to rally. We got Jimmy and Jay delivering stereo Uso splashes to Tama Tonga and Tongaloa. But then they got taken out by Solo and Jacob. Punk got Jacob up for a GTS at the same time that Roman set up for a spear to Solo Sikoa. But Solo sidestepped him, and Reigns accidentally speared CM Punk instead. Now, this came off poorly because Roman hesitated on the spear initially. So, like, he was going for it, but then he kind of stopped himself for some reason, and Solo was ready to not sell it, but like move out of the way, but then he had to stop. And he had to wait for Roman to reset and do it again. So it looked very goofy. But the point of the spot was that Roman would accidentally take out CM Punk, build some drama here. What's going to happen now? So then Solo spiked Roman, could not finish him off. Jacob dropped Punk with the Death Valley driver, and then he tried for a moonsault, but he stumbled, and he missed because Punk rolled out of the way, and Fatu sold a leg injury. He's very good at that, by the way, because I had people on my timeline asking if he was really hurt. This is the same thing that happened when he came off that time on SmackDown with the flying splash through SummerSlam, when he came off the top through the announce desk, and he was selling the leg, and he had me convinced that he was hurt. Then he was in a walking boot, so maybe he was hurt. But he was selling that he's fine, I'm sure, but he was, selling an injury here. Roman ends up delivering a low blow a little while later when Fatu came over to him. And then he spears Solo Sikoa. But Bronson Reed caught Roman, and then he placed him on a table. And Bronson Reed begins to scale the cage. Now, there's a little platform up top. The ones that I mentioned earlier in the women's match, Io came off the platform on one side. Tiffany Stratton came off the platform on the other. That was the platform where Bronson Reed decided to climb up in the corner to set up for a tsunami splash. This was going to be the biggest tsunami of all time. And, I would hate to be the person who's laying on that table. Like, if I don't move in time, or if the person who's supposed to come over and get me doesn't get there in time, that's a big fucking guy to be coming all the way off the top of that cage. And imagine you're just laying there. You're just laying there. You're looking up like your life is flashing before your eyes. Like, this could go wrong in so many different ways. So Roman is laying there. We get the tsunami off the top of the cage. CM Punk, he waited until the last possible second, to the point where I thought maybe he was late and Reed would catch part of Roman. But he barely missed him. And Reed went crashing through the table. So Punk was able to rescue Roman Reigns in the nick of time. After Roman then gets up and he offers his hand to CM Punk to help him up to his feet, Punk accepts. Solo catches Roman with multiple Samoans. Actually, Punk didn't accept, but he put his hand out, but he got caught with multiple Samoan spikes. Solo covers him. The Usos, though, catch Solo with a double super kick. Now a hobbled Jacob Fatu attacks the Usos, who come back and they catch Fatu with a 1D, and they drop him. They set Fatu up on the table. Jimmy goes to the top rope, and Jimmy Uso was going to do a splash, but then Jimmy looks up and he goes, got a little platform up there. So Jimmy climbs to the top of the cage, onto the platform, just like Bronson Reed did. And Jimmy Uso flies off the top of the cage with an Uso splash. And he got some wicked airtime on this, or hang time. And he comes crashing through the table. He puts Jacob Fatu through the table. Paul Heyman, they showed him. He had a big smile on his face outside. Sami Zayn struggled back to his feet, drags Jimmy back to his feet, drags Jay back to his feet. So over to the other ring, they help up CM Punk and then Roman Reigns. Jay said, let's finish this shit. Solo Sikoa was the only member of his team now in that ring with them back up on his feet, and he realizes that he is surrounded. He is surrounded by CM Punk and all of the OGs, and Roman is looking at him. Roman throws his arms open like he's ready for a hug. I don't know what that was about. Instead, the Usos delivered super kicks. Sammy delivered a haluva kick. Punk hit Solo with the GTS. And that set up the spear by Roman Reigns. And Roman Reigns pins Solo Sikoa to win it for the OGs. All of the Bloodline members now hug, including Sami Zayn. Punk is standing on the opposite part of the ring just watching this. Like, he's the odd man out here. Jimmy comes over, and he slaps hands with Punk. Jey Uso slaps hands with Punk. Sami Zayn does the same. So then they all share a team hug. And now Roman is on the other side of the ring, and Roman is just standing there watching all of this. Roman and Punk finally come face to face. And Roman puts his hand out, and CM Punk shakes the hand of Roman Reigns. And then they all posed, and they threw up the ones. Punk did not. Punk did his GTS gesture instead. And then in the background, over by the stage, they start shooting off pyro. See, I will tell you this. That camera shot, when everybody is throwing up the ones and Punk is doing this, and the shot, they kind of pan out a little bit, and they have a lot of open space on the left-hand side, which is where they were going to shoot the pyro off. Before they started shooting the pyro off, I thought they were setting up for The Rock or somebody, but who else would it be? They were going to hit their music, and we were going to see them come out in the aisleway. That's what I thought was about to happen. And instead, they just shot off a bunch of pyro. And as they left the cage one by one. And Paul Heyman was standing there waiting for each man. He was hugging a lot of them as they came out. CM Punk comes out of the cage. And he also embraces Paul Heyman. And you could hear Heyman say, "I owe you one." And Punk said, "We owe each other. And when I need the favor, I'm going to come ask." Then Punk walks off. Sami Zayn exits. He hugs Heyman. Roman was the last man out. He did not hug the wise man, but he put his hand kind of on his head, like he was acknowledging him. And then they all walked down the aisle to the stage area. So the wise man did it. The wise man did it. He brought them together. He led the Bloodline to victory. But what was that favor that he owes Punk, right? We first heard about this on SmackDown last night in the sit-down. Punk again alludes to a favor. When I'm ready, I'm going to be calling for it. I'm going to come calling for it. Paul Heyman's like, okay. We still don't know what that favor is. And Roman Reigns wanted to know what it was last night. And Heyman said, let's get through War Games first. Well, now War Games is over. So you have to think that on SmackDown this Friday, Roman Reigns, the first question out of his mouth is going to be about that favor. So we may not have to wait very long. They may tell us on TV this week. I don't know. I don't know if they want to reveal it that way. They're probably better off waiting until the time comes. Like, make people forget about it. And then when the time comes, Punk cashes in whatever that favor is. But they milled around here for a little while longer. They were posing again, and they really milked it to the point where it felt like they were stalling and waiting for something big to happen. And maybe we're just spoiled by the end of last year's show, because what happened at the end of War Games last year? We had one of the biggest returns in the history of the company. One of the biggest stars in WWE history, gone for almost a full decade, came back. A lot of controversy followed him. I mean, the story of how Punk ended up back in WWE, you can get a whole documentary out of it. It was something that a lot of people thought they would never see. There he was. And the reaction to it was this huge moment. I'm not saying that you were ever going to top that, but they kind of conditioned you to think that maybe something else was going to happen. And then nothing happened. They just posed, and that was it. The show went off the air. So that was a little underwhelming. They didn't give us anything there at the end. But it went exactly the way that I figured it would. The only difference is I thought Jey Uso would get the winning fall here. Instead, they gave him the last entrance. But it was Roman Reigns, going in there and pinning Solo Sikoa and scoring the winning pinfall for his family. The Survivor Series really was the tale of a company that played it safe. Both War Games matches, right down the middle. I mean, you could have just called the entire thing if you just close your eyes and called it in your head. Both team captains pick up the win over the other team captain, right? Rhea Ripley pins Liv Morgan. Roman Reigns pins Solo Sikoa. Very clean. Nothing to it. No big twist. No big surprise. No betrayal, nothing like that. If you were looking for stuff like that, it didn't happen. And again, the fact that that didn't happen doesn't make it a bad match. I thought the opening match was bad for a lot of other reasons. And I didn't think the main event was bad. I thought the main event turned out to be very good, but they played it safe. They didn't give you anything. You know, it was a very predictable show in that way. The big spots here went to Bronson Reed and Jimmy Uso on those table spots. Otherwise, nothing too crazy. No blood like we had in Hell in a Cell last month with Punk and McIntyre. But they told a good story, I thought, with Heyman coming out midway through when things maybe weren't looking too good for the OGs, and he had to convince Punk and Roman, hey, look, put your differences aside here. This is War Games, okay? Bring the best out of each other. Go in there and fight. And that's exactly what they did in the end. They were able, that was the story coming in. Will they be able to coexist? Can they coexist? Well, they were in fact able to coexist. Michael Cole, though, he pointed out something very important on commentary. Michael Cole pointed out that Solo Sikoa still wears the Ula Fala. He is still the tribal chief, he said. So we still have to get that Roman Reigns Solo Sikoa singles match whenever they decide to do that. Either that or maybe on TV this week. Solo Sikoa maybe is going to get kicked out of the Bloodline. What I would like to see, what I would love to see, this Friday on SmackDown, Solo Sikoa gets booted out of his own Bloodline. This loss proves to be one loss too many. It's not lost on me that Solo is the one who took the losing fall in this match. He lost for his team. Tonga Loa didn't get pinned. Tama Tonga didn't get pinned. The non-Bloodline member, Bronson Reed, he didn't get pinned. Solo Sikoa got pinned. And it's not the only big match and big opportunity that has been wasted by Solo Sikoa. At what point does losing have consequences? We've heard that before, right? We heard that earlier this year with Roman Reigns losing at WrestleMania. And it was Solo Sikoa pointing that out to Paul Heyman, I believe. Losing has consequences. When does that become the case for Solo Sikoa? If not now, then when? I would love to see him booted out by Jacob and the Tongans. Jacob Fatu takes over as the new sort of renegade leader here of this faction. And they can introduce Hikuleo. If they want to keep him as a foursome, you introduce Hikuleo. You got 3 Tongans and Jacob Fatu now comprising this new bloodline. Solo Sikoa, then the next sort of chapter of his story begins where he has to go groveling back to the OGs. That's a story I think they could definitely tell. I think that could be interesting. The other question is about this favor that CM Punk says Paul Heyman owes him. To me, I think it's one of two things. He said that when the time comes, or when the time is right, however he phrased it, he's going to come calling for that favor. It could be a championship match. Right now, Roman Reigns is not champion anymore. Frankly, I don't think Roman Reigns needs the title back anytime soon. But let's say he does get it back. Let's say Roman Reigns becomes WWE champion in 6 months. Is CM Punk going to come calling and say, hey, I want a title shot? Or, and this may be more realistic, because I really don't see Roman getting the belt back, especially if he's not going to be full-time and, you know, he's occupied with Bloodline stuff, and I don't think he needs it. Maybe it's as simple as this. Maybe it's as simple as Punk is going to want to go after the World Heavyweight Championship, and he doesn't know when that's going to be. Maybe he's got to win the Royal Rumble. Maybe CM Punk wins the Rumble. Challenge is at WrestleMania. But whenever it is, when the time comes that he is ready to go after the World Heavyweight Championship on Raw, he wants Paul Heyman to be his wise man again. He wants Paul Heyman to help him and be in his corner by his side. And Paul Heyman has promised him, yes, I will do it. And Paul Heyman then has to go to Raw. He could be on both shows, but he goes to Raw to be in the corner of CM Punk to try to assist Punk in his quest to once again become World Heavyweight Champion, maybe even headline one of the 2 nights of WrestleMania. And that will also feed into this rivalry, I guess you'd call it, between Roman Reigns and CM Punk, right? No, he's my wise man. You got Heyman caught in the middle here. The seeds are being planted right now for that eventual Roman Reigns CM Punk match, maybe in the summer next year. But it could be as simple as that. I want you in my corner when I'm ready to go after the World Heavyweight Championship. I need you. I need your counsel. we've worked together before, right? Heyman was with him before. Punk was WWE champion. He had Paul Heyman Heyman wasn't with him when he won the title, right? Punk went heel in the middle of that run back in 2012, but they were quite the combo back then. You had Heyman and Punk when Punk had that long 434-day run as champion. Heyman was with Punk when Punk was wrestling The Rock. That to me seems a little more realistic. But that would be my guess. You may have a different guess. You may have a different thought on what you think the favor is. But just to kind of put a button on this, I enjoyed the main event. I greatly enjoyed the Intercontinental title match as much, if not more, maybe, than the main event. And the World Heavyweight Championship match was also, I thought, a good match. So I have to give this show a thumbs up. It's not the most enthusiastic thumbs up. There were definitely a lot of other PLEs this year that outrank this one. I thought the U.S. title match was pretty boring. I thought the opening match, I did not like the Women's War Games match this year. In past years I have. This year is not one of those years. I thought that got the show off to a terrible start. So it was good on the whole, but not one of their strongest shows. Not even the strongest big show for the month of November. That's my thoughts on Survivor Series. Let's take a look at what you thought. We got 80% thumbs up in the Twitter poll going right now with over 2,100 votes in. 80.7% compared to 19.3% thumbs down. So that is a positive score right now. You can go in, chime in on the poll. Hey, Wade, just subscribe. Say his name and he appears. Look who it is, everybody. Look who it is, everybody.
It's the amazing Gunther.
It's the amazing Gunther.
Jerry Lawler loves Gunther, the magnificent. All hail Gunther.
I saw Joe Hendry was in the turkey suit match in TNA this week.
Get the body in the proper position for the strapation dudes.
Ew. Yeah, you keep your strapation to yourself, King Nader. It's not late enough for that. It's not even midnight yet, okay? You keep that strapation to yourself, brother. Holy shit. Thinks it's after dark. We're not there yet. What's the matter with you? We got kids watching this stream. Come on now. All right, let's check out your messages here, your super chats. We got a lot of them to go through here. I love it. I love it. Scary. Yeah, it is scary, isn't it? All right, let's take a look here. Let's go back to the early messages. We will start with those as we usually do because those do not appear in the list. This is a special column that we have the early super chats in. Don't want to miss any of your messages, man. You guys killed it tonight. We got a lot of Be the Booker coming up too. We got some stipulations. We're gonna be booking some War Games matches. This is gonna be very interesting. Shut the fuck up. Fuck that tree. Had to get himself some FaceTime, didn't he? He just had to do it. Hey, the Winston Slip says, hard to believe it's been 26 years since the last pay-per-view in Vancouver. What were your thoughts on Rock Bottom 98? WWE needs more buried alive matches. I agree. I'm a big fan of the buried alive stipulation. It's one of my guilty pleasures.
It's the amazing Gunther.
I hear it's Gunther's favorite match as well.
Loves Gunther, the magnificent. All hail Gunther.
Gunther loves him a good buried alive match.
It's the amazing Gunther.
He's getting a lot of
Jerry
FaceTime on
Lawler
the show
loves
tonight, isn't he?
Gunther, the magnificent. All hail
Look how serious he looks.
Gunther.
Looks like Vigo the Carpathian from Ghostbusters 2.
It's the amazing Gunther. Jerry Lawler loves Gunther, the magnificent. All hail Gunther.
Oh my goodness. It is the never-ending. It's like, remember that Survivor Series where we had the 4 doinks? We're gonna have the 4 Gunther. I think we've had more than 4 of them so far. Guy's everywhere. All right, well, let's get through some of these, and then we'll get back to Gunther. Mr. E, oh, so let me answer the rest of Winston's question here. Rock Bottom 98, I do remember parts of that pay-per-view. I remember the Rock and Mankind match. Oh, God, wasn't there something with the mandible claw? Oh, no, you know what I'm thinking of? Mankind putting the mandible claw on himself. That was against Val Venus. That was No Mercy in 99. But I do remember the Buried Alive match on that show. Mr. E says, here's to the tip jar. Thank you for everything you do, Solomonster. Stay pressing forward. I'm going to try. Thank you, brother. Josh Carlos 98 says, Carmelo and Andrade, best of 7 equals losing to U.S. champion multiple times. Nakamura, gone for months, has 2 matches, equals winning the U.S. belt. I didn't book it. Don't look at me. Base Beerus, WWE skimped on the music for this year's Survivor Series. I don't even give a shit. I'm just happy they're bringing back the old Saturday Night's Main Event music. That's all I care about. I get tickled silly every time I hear the music in a promo for that show. Sidro. Orion's belt is a big waste of space. He spelled waste, W-A-I-S-T. Says, I know, terrible joke, 3 stars, he says. Or Orion's belt. Yes.
You suck.
You are amazing. Also, Chuck Norris once gave an uppercut to a horse. Now we have drafts. I love me a good Chuck Norris joke. I used to love those. One of my favorites was that Chuck Norris does not, oh God, what was it? Chuck Norris doesn't do push-ups. He pushes the earth down or something like that. Darius Smith, War Games, 20 minutes of fucking fighting, then damn match starts officially. Add another 25 minutes. Appetizer followed by the entree. I'm full as fuck. Base Beerus says Punk is now Bloodline. He and Sammy need their tribal chest tattoos. Also says, can't believe we actually got the tsunami off the cage. That was the spot of the night. That was the big spot of the entire night. Was that tsunami splash. I didn't think they were going to do it either. And when I saw him go up there, I said, oh boy. We got Cerulean Capuchin. So what now? Cole said Solo still has the Ulafala. I think Solo should have won since the faces will go their separate ways now. Also, hi Adam. I don't know who Adam is, but Cerulean just said hello to you. That's why I think the idea of Solo being kicked out of the Bloodline, it doesn't have to happen this week, but I think him being booted out of the Bloodline, and maybe they're waiting. Maybe they're waiting until a singles match. He gets beaten again by Roman, and then they turn against Solo, and Roman kind of comes back to his aid because he's still family. I could see it playing out that way. Holiday 197 says there should have been a program between Cody and Kevin tonight to hype up their upcoming match. The WWE champion should have been present at a Big 4 pay-per-view, and they were in Kevin's country. Well, I'm going to say that's one of the reasons, if not the reason, why you did not see it on this show, because they did not want to risk Cody Rhodes being booed at Survivor Series. Jerome Eugenio, do you think they need to take a break from War Games, or at least not put the Bloodline in next year? I do, but I can't tell you a year from now if there's going to be a great story worthy of War Games. If there is, do a War Games match. If there isn't, go back to like a big traditional elimination match. It doesn't have to be the main event, but I would love to see at least one of those matches on the Survivor Series card each year. You know, Triple H is big on history, and look at the nostalgia that we're getting with Saturday night's main event. You mean to tell me you can't find room on these shows for one traditional elimination match? I'm a fan of doing War Games when War Games is warranted. War Games was in the advertising for this show months ago, but we knew months ago it was probably going to be Bloodline against Bloodline, a civil war, so it made sense. A year from now, if they don't have a story on that level and there's no real reason to do War Games, I'd be okay with skipping it for a year. It doesn't necessarily have to be every single year. It certainly doesn't have to be men's and women's every single year. When it's appropriate, you can do a War Games match. If there's no good reason to do War Games, then don't do War Games. Simple as that. And I'm okay with that. Alfonso says, I'm glad Nakamura won. Hopefully this will be a new start for him and actually get a push. Alfonso, you're funny. Not as funny as Sidro, but you're pretty funny. Side note, did they really have to change his song again? It was badass last night. I thought it was badass tonight too. Was it different than last night? It didn't sound that different to me. If it was different, I barely noticed. I still thought it was pretty badass. So I liked it.
I am the last.
Don't like him.
Fuck up.
Fuck that tree. Matt says, do I think Jacob is okay? I do. Row, row, Roman Reigns gently down the stream. Row, row, Roman Reigns gently down the stream. Hey, Bobby's World. Thank you for the 21. Ah, Ian. I thought it was you before. I was surprised it was somebody else who beat you to the punch on that one. Hey, Ian, thank you. Still going through the early ones here. JDFVA. Next up, Saturday night's main event. That's right. I can't wait. I'm looking forward to it. Mr. X. Actually, shout out to Meet Huncho, who just renewed 13 months of channel membership. Thank you, brother. Mr. X says, controversial opinion. The show was good, but weaker than 2022 and 2023. Lack of major surprises and predictable booking. Novelty also wore off. I don't think that's controversial at all. I think you hit the nail on the head. I think that you are correct. And I don't disagree with you. NWO Matt, all hail Roman Reigns. All hail the OTC I Love You Solo. Oh, Matt was the one who dropped the Bukkake Ghost. Thank you for the $69 super chat. All hail Roman Reigns, he says. RRR Wrestling. Are we thinking The Rock is still involved with Solo's bloodline? I personally don't see it with how many losses Solo has taken. The only involvement I can see at this point is Rock appointing Jacob. I don't know, you tell me. That was a theory going around. I mean, I never said that The Rock was definitely involved with Solo's bloodline. It was one of many theories that were out there going back, honestly, going back to the summer. I talked about it, but do I think The Rock is actively involved with that bloodline? I don't. He could get involved. Like you said, he could be the one to appoint Jacob. Maybe I could see that, but it doesn't feel like he's actively involved right now. Jeremy Rose says the show was mid. No surprises, no advancement of the storyline, in my opinion, unless Solo's bloodline is just going to go away, which it's not going away. It's not going away. We got Jason with the $10 super chat. First super chat since subbing. Awesome. Jason, welcome to the channel. Show was worthy of a lesser pay-per-view, not one of the big four. Women's match sucked. Good storytelling in the main, though. Looking forward to the review. Jason, thank you for the support. Good to have you. And I agree. I did not like that women's match. And the storytelling in the main event, while predictable, I thought it was good. They told the story they needed to tell. Bobby's World with the 50. Let's see if the Gunther super chat is functional tonight. It is. Oh boy, is it. Last night, for whatever reason, this happened a few days ago. Gunther is the $50 one. And it just stopped working. So the one right below it was the one that was triggering, and I couldn't figure out why. So it started happening again last night. So I had to make a change. I made a change. I said, okay, let's hope. And I almost feel like we're backlogged. We've had like 6 of them tonight. He's probably not even done yet. I'm afraid to unpause them. We're probably going to see him again. Natasha with a 50 of her own. Natasha, thank you. Says, evening Solomonster. Happy Saturday all. Truly enjoyed the Intercontinental Title match, and the Bloodline War Games was enjoyable. Outside of that, the rest of the card was so-so. Now let's see what this CM Punk favor is all about. Well, I mean, again, chime in with your theories. I told you what I think it is. You may have a different idea as to what you think the favor is. Open to suggestions. Robert Jimenez, Tiffany Stratton should have cashed in. Yes, she should have. I thought it would have been great for her to cash in on Nia, have Candice LeRae reveal that she was with Tiffany the whole time. And instead of being Nia's sidekick, Tiffany becomes champion, and Candice becomes Tiffany's sidekick. It was right there. They could have done it. Could have done it tonight.
I love you, Solo. You are my tribal chief.
Base Beerus says, who will survive? Was that Mean Gene? Is that Mean Gene? Abusika says, Bukaki.
I'm the Bukaki ghost. Oh my goodness. Oh my.
Go away.
My.
Take that in the back. Jesus. Come on. Oh, man. What is wrong with me? Been asking that question for a long time. Yeah, you know what I never understood on the WrestleMania, was it the WrestleMania Slam Jam or something? It was a sound effect at the beginning, and it was someone, Piper or Mean Gene saying, who will survive? I think it was Mean Gene. Like, why are they using that? Right? Somebody said something. Oh, no, it was Piper who said, is everybody ready for the Survivor Series? And I'm like, why would you be saying that on a WrestleMania song? It never made any sense to me. We got Mr. Rod, a decent show overall. Great main event. I would say 7 out of 10 overall. Oh, it's Bryan Danielson. Look at this, doing the Brock Lesnar dance. How Lesnar didn't murder him for that right off the bat, I'll never know. Mr. Rod, thank you. We got I. Jackson. I'm gonna glaze Jimmy tonight. MVP of the match. You do whatever you want in the privacy of your own home. You take the ghost with you, and you can go and you can lock yourself in the back. And you can glaze anybody you want. I'm giving the MVP honors to Bronson Reed just for that tsunami off the top of the cage. You know, I should check and see here. I haven't checked for any injury updates. Hopefully nobody got hurt in that main event, but let's see. Oh no. Okay, so there is an update here. This sucks. Well, shit. Bronson Reed suffered an injury to one of and possibly both of his ankles on landing when he attempted the tsunami off the top of the cage. Reed also required assistance to get to the back following the match. Well, that is no good. That is no good. You know what? Now that I think about it, when you go back and you watch that spot again, you know what it kind of reminded me of in a way, and not in a good way? The Adam Copeland spot from Double or Nothing when he did that dive, but he just came straight down. I think, honestly, my first impression now that I hear that and thinking back to the spot, he did come down a little bit more on his legs than completely flat. And I wonder if part of that was, you know, if Punk was late on the spot in pulling Roman off the table. and he was worried about landing on Roman, so he came down a little more vertical than he otherwise might have. So that sucks. This guy's in the middle of the biggest push of his life. And if he's hurt in any serious way, that just fucking sucks. That really sucks. So, let's see what the update is, but that initial update does not make it sound very good. You know, and again, he's a lot bigger than Copeland was. I mean, they called him 340 pounds. Whatever he actually is, he's a big dude. So to land from that height with all that weight on your ankles, that's not good. Spartan Sprinkles says, I made that posthumously climaxing ghost meme. LOL. Did you? Were you the one? Are you the one that I can blame for that? Hey, Zachary, what's going on, man? Oh, that puts me in a bad mood now, man. I hope he's not hurt seriously, man. He's been one of the shining lights on Monday Night Raw. Fuck. I hope he's not hurt seriously. C Entertainment Media with the $32 super chat. Happy anniversary, Solomonster. After that handshake between Punk and Roman, other than a future showdown between them, what do you think Punk's favor will be? And could Roman take a detour and get involved with Punk and Seth? He could take a detour. The favor stuff I already talked about before, so that pretty much answers that question as far as what I think it might be. Thank you for the kind words. Uffman Entertainment, I had a trapper keeper for school. A trapper key? I don't know what that is. KC1324, hope you had a happy Thanksgiving. I did. I hope you did as well. Says, Solo, when do you think Tiffany Stratton cashes in? Because her cash-in teases are getting tiresome. What do you think Punk's favor is? We talked about the favor already. I wish I could tell you when I thought she was going to cash in. I thought she was going to cash in tonight, and she didn't. So I don't know if they're waiting for WrestleMania. I don't know if they're waiting for Saturday night's main event. If they're waiting for Netflix. Maybe Saturday night's main event. Maybe they want to make a big splash on NBC. Base Beerus. Corbin just won gold at a BJJ tournament. Oh, good for him. I know he's involved in that. I didn't know he won gold. It's the only gold he's ever won. Well, congrats to Baron Corbin. Ross Lawman, I can confirm that was the toilet seat Hogan sat on when he was hiding from Harley Race. Love your content. As always, make sure to rest easy, bro. Thank you, Ross. Bobby's World took the words out of my mouth. Solo was going to ask what the point was of 3-minute intervals when people take a full minute to leave the cage, grab whatever crap from under the ring, and then enter. It's crazy. I mean, by the time they enter the ring, there's like 60 seconds left. It's ridiculous. It's just stupid. Base Beer, sometimes I wonder what Rumpelmain is up to. I don't. And you shouldn't either. We all know what he's up to. You don't have to wonder. You all know what he's up to. This is Bobby's World, he says. We're all just living in it. I agree. Speaking of which, Bobby's World gifted a channel membership, and Mr. Nobody was the lucky random recipient. So, Mr. Nobody, you're not a nobody to me. You're a somebody. Welcome to the channel, Bobby's World. Thank you. Boots, my God, with the $50. Oh my God, a pair of $50 super chats. That's right. I forgot about that. Boots, thank you. That's $100 from Boots. Base Beer says, Boots to asses. Well, he wasn't there tonight. Mr. Boots to asses was nowhere to be found. Arabian Night says, WWE is telling great stories, but lacking consistent great in-ring matches on PLEs. I don't know about you, but my top 10 matches for 2024, I only got 3 from WWE. Well, when I do my match at the end of the month, I guess, right? Because now it's officially December. Usually I do my top matches of the year. I guess you'll find out then how many WWE matches are in my top 10. Usually not that many. Jeremy Rose says, Oman is still an asshole. I assume he means Roman, and he's not insulting an entire country. Solo is still tribal chief. Wise Man is still Roman's wise man. What did this match accomplish? CM Punk against Roman at the end of 2025. No Tiffany cash-in. Maybe Saturday night's main event will deliver. I hope so. Saturday night's main event needs to deliver at least one big development, one big shocking event of some kind. It could be a title change. It could be a cash-in. It could be a betrayal. Look, we're going to get a new women's U.S. champion crowned on that show. It's probably going to be Bayley and Naomi in the finals. Maybe one of them goes heel. Maybe Naomi goes heel. Maybe we find out Naomi was behind the Jade Cargill attack. Something has to happen on that show. We need one big thing to at least take place on that show. Little Panda, Baby Fire Panda, with a $50 super chat. Shinsuke Nakamura is a champion in 2024. We won, Solo. We didn't win shit. You know what that is? It's the claw. You know the claw machine? It's like the claw goes down and it actually picks something up and you think you won. And you're like, holy shit, I actually got something. And the claw starts moving and then right before it gets to the end, it drops whatever it picked up. And then you get nothing. Kingnator, NZ. Hey Solo, when Cena returns, who do you think his first opponent should be and why? I don't know who it's going to be, but I mean, I have a list of people that I think he should work with. Logan Paul is on that list. Logan Paul is on the list. Randy Orton's on the list. Gunther is on the list. CM Punk is on the list. In what order? I don't know. You know, one of the ideas that I had was that you do Punk against Cena on the first Netflix Raw. You don't waste any time. Because I really don't see a big like PLE program being built around that. So why not do that match on the biggest Raw of all time? All right, go big or go home, man. You want a big attraction on that show? John Cena, right out of the gate, starts out the year. Him against CM Punk. Right? Roll one more time for old time's sake. You want to have somebody or multiple people interfere in the finish to set up programs for each of them going forward? That's fine, but to me, Punk and Cena on that first Netflix Raw, that'd be a hell of an attraction. Fuck it, go with Punk. Ross Lawman. How close are we, by the way, to 1,000 likes? Are we close? We're at 811 likes, man. How amazing would it be if we actually hit 1,000 before we got out of here live? Do you guys have the intestinal fortitude to get me to 1,000? I don't know. Ross says Sound Off Superstar and Sound Off Legend are grayed out. Is there something I'm missing? I had my gifted membership expire, so I wanted to continue it. If you hit the join button, you probably just join the traditional way. It shouldn't be grayed out. I mean, I don't think you can renew a gifted membership. They expire, I think, after 30 days, so you may have to just go the traditional route. I don't know what you're looking at, but there shouldn't be any issues. If there still are, just let me know. Holiday says, do you think that they should pair Paul Heyman with Jacob Fatu once the Bloodline storyline is finally over? The Bloodline storyline, I got news for you, is not going to be over for a very long time. Like, literally years. They're going to carry the story on for years. They've talked openly about this. Roman Reigns just did an interview. I don't know who it was with. This was in the last couple of weeks. And he talked about how sometimes he thinks about the vision for the Bloodline story 2 or 3 years ahead. So, we got a ways to go before this is over. Edwin says LA Knight should get drafted to Raw, in my opinion. I'd be okay with that. Give him some new opponents to work with. Michael. Thank you, Michael. with 2 super chats being reported that Bronson might have broken both ankles. I saw that both ankles were injured. I don't know if they were broken. I know he had to be helped out. I'm pretty bummed out about this. I hope it's not serious, but it sounds serious. Bobby's World says was kind of half paying attention to the triple threat, doing some extracurricular work, and then I look up and I'm like,
I love you, Solo. You are.
And I'm like, I love you, Solo.
Chief.
He says, I'm like, damn, this match is fire. Excellent match. Yeah, that triple threat match was something else, man. That triple threat match was awesome. Dan Richards says, don't have magenta money, still some love. Hey, it's all good, Dan. First 2 matches were okay. Last 3 were good to great. Debating Elimination Chamber tickets in Toronto. I think John Cena is being advertised for Toronto. That's going to be his final ever Toronto appearance. So if that matters to you, if you're a John Cena fan, you should probably go to the show. If you don't care, then... If you don't care about John Cena, then you don't have to go to the show. But they are billing that as his final Toronto appearance. S. McPhee, the Kevin Owens isn't wrong movement is stupid since Sammy is doing more to elevate Roman than Cody did. What are your thoughts if this is not addressed? It has to be addressed. And if it's not addressed, I agree. I think it's very stupid. It's a huge plot hole that has to be filled. Boots with another $50 super chat. My goodness. And M. Mills as well. Competing with Boots, coming in with a $50 super chat. M. Mills and Boots, both of you, thank you very much. I hope you both had a very happy Thanksgiving. Uffman with a 50 says, be the Booker War Games. Oh, War Games is not over yet. We got War Games yet to come tonight. Matt says, do you think Jacob is okay? Apparently not. He sent that in an hour ago. Apparently not. Bobby's World. In reference to the Base Beerus Super Chat, I know I've said this on here before, but that's my catchphrase at the end of my YouTube videos. Sounds cocky, but of course I say it because to me it sounds funny and stupid. Bobby, there have been so many Super Chats tonight, I don't even remember what catchphrase that Super Chat was referring to. I have no idea. I'm sure it's a great catchphrase, though. Ian Noel with 32. Someone beat me to the Judgment Day interruption. They did. I was shocked by that. Happy anniversary, Solomonster. Surprised no Seth and Rock tonight, but hopefully next year we get newer War Games participants. Jay, Sammy, Damage Control, and Bianca need a break. Yeah, if they're going to do it, they got to get some new blood in there. It's a lot of the same people over and over again. Justin G gifted a membership to Coach Nick Gaming. Congrats. Josh Worthington. It's 4 a.m. in the UK. This was an hour ago, and I am in the gym while listening to this review. I love you, Solo. I hope you all had a wonderful Thanksgiving. Man, this guy is a beast. He's in the gym at 4 o'clock in the morning. I wish I had that kind of drive and commitment. I'm in the gym. I do cardio a few times a week, but not at 4 o'clock in the morning, I don't. Vishu with the super chat. If Priest doesn't get a rematch with Gunther before the Rumble, could there be a scenario where Priest wins the Rumble instead and then we get the match at WrestleMania? I don't want that match at WrestleMania. I mean, that's unacceptable to me. For Damian Priest to win the Royal Rumble just to get back at Gunther at WrestleMania, they had a good match tonight. We saw it at SummerSlam. We saw it at Survivor Series. I don't want it at WrestleMania. All the people that put Gunther in the ring with at WrestleMania after 2 matches with Priest already, I don't have an appetite to see it again. They were good matches, but not to the point where I have to see it again at WrestleMania. Uffman says you're needs to be a super chat. We'll see. Stefan says, 4 a.m., my ass is sleeping. My ass is sleeping right now. I've been sitting here for so long. Nick K says, I will say my least favorite thing about the Triple H era is how paint by numbers the pay-per-views are. Almost every show this year is so painfully predictable. There's never any uncertainty as to who will win or lose. Well, I mean, outside of the Nakamura win tonight, that's certainly true of tonight's show. I can't disagree with you on that. Matt Fisher with the $20 super chat. What's going on, Matt? There's a photo online of Undertaker's wedding party. It's got Eddie Guerrero, Bruce Pritchard, JBL, and Ron Simmons. There's also a guy that everybody believes is Crush in the photo, but it's too hard to tell. Are there any ideas? I don't have the photo in front. I've seen the photo you're talking about, but I don't have it in front of me. Undertaker's been married like 3 or 4 times, so I don't even know which wedding party, if that was the wedding to Sarah or the wedding to... Well, I mean, it couldn't have been the wedding to Michelle, right? Because Crush was already dead, I think, right? When did he pass away? When did Bryan Adams pass away? It was many years ago. He's been married so many times, I have no idea what photo that wedding was even from. He's got some catching up to do, though, if he wants to catch up to Flair. Bobby's World says, I'm sure you didn't miss Jacob screaming his love for you from the top turnbuckle. I love you, Solo. No, I hear it every day. He tweets me. He tweets about me every day. He says, I love you, Solo. And I say, thank you. I appreciate that. I agree. Yeah, I mean, if it's true. That's true. If Eddie was in it, it had to be Sarah because he didn't get married to Michelle until 2010s, probably. Yeah, Eddie passed away in 2005. But did Bryan Adams pass away before Eddie? I thought he did. NWL Matt with another $69 super chat says Roman Reigns was released. Yes, he was, from the shark cage. I said those are 4 words you will never hear again. Thank you, Matt. Base Beerus says, see, Mark Henry would have dealt with that padlock. Yes, he would have. He would have found a way into that cage. Uffman, before he climbed the cage, Roman asked the referees for the key. And naturally, the referees said they did not have one. Bobby's World, I LOL when Roman climbed straight over the top of the cage, fought off the Tongans too. Well, that was easy. Yes, it was. Crush died in August of 2007. Okay, so that was 2 years after Eddie. Hottest of Take OBS Jacob. Thank you for the super chat. What a weird name. Base Beer says, someone said Bronson broke his ankle or ankles. I hope not. I hope not too. We got Hottest Take. Bailey's outfit last night is bad for my marriage. Josh says, I'm calling it for 2025. Heyman will be Punk's wise man and Roman will lose his shit. That's my take on it. When Punk's ready to go for the World Heavyweight title, he's going to want Heyman to be his wise man. Project Libertad, imagine the learning tree in a War Games match. I got a better idea. How about we don't? Yuri says, Gunther is Mr. Gunther is Mr. Survivor Series. You know what? I used to say Randy Orton was Mr. Survivor Series. He wasn't even on the show this year. I think Gunther is the new Mr. Survivor Series. How many appearances did he make tonight? I think he finally went to bed. Yuri also says, Solo always losing but not being punished is just as big of a logic hole as Kevin Owens being mad at Cody but not at Sammy. I'm holding out hope that it's building to Solo being booted because it would only make sense. The KO and Sammy thing, though, that's got to be addressed at some point. Crazy says, do you think the match would have been better if it was Seth instead of CM Punk as far as work rate and story-wise? Work rate. I mean, the work rate, no. I mean, so what would Rollins have done? He would have done another dive? Like, the work rate was fine. The work rate, I'm not watching War Games for the work rate in the way that people sometimes look at work rate. Like, the psychology and the story are the most important thing in a match like that, and then you sprinkle in some memorable spots. It's not about, like, how many great moves somebody did or flips or anything like that. I don't give a shit about that. It doesn't matter to me. Powerful one. They're treating War Games the way they treated Hell in a Cell in the 2010s, and look what that did to Hell in a Cell. You got to save it for when it makes sense. I agree. I don't disagree with you on that. Duff's Vids, Chuck Norris doesn't breathe air. Air breathes Chuck Norris. Thank you, Solo, for your reviews. Thank you. When the boogeyman goes to bed at night, he checks under his bed for Chuck Norris. That was another one. That was one of my favorites. Uffman Entertainment, Chuck Norris counted to infinity twice. The Juliet says, Team Ripley sang happy birthday to Naomi at the press conference. Well, isn't that nice? Now, if you would have told me that somebody came into the press conference and hit Naomi over the head with a wrench or something, that would have been interesting. Well, let's all sit together and sing Kumbaya. After War Games. Sure. Crash says, what is your opinion on the bald community? Like Kevin Nash, I never had a problem with the bald community. Tongaloa superfan, you give me a break. You have got to be kidding me. This is more rare than Bigfoot. We have Tonga Loa superfan. There actually is one. And he's here with us tonight. Is Tonga Loa the most important wrestler of the past 12 and a half years? He's certainly in the conversation. Thank you, Tonga Loa superfan. Justin G, Chuck Norris knows the contents of the lockbox. Yeah, well, I'm not going to go ask him. I'll let you do that. Ian Noel says, would love to see a Money in the Bank cash in during an Elimination Chamber, cashing in on a second-tier title during the Royal Rumble or during a TLC match. We've already had that before. We don't need any more Money in the Bank cash-ins for a second-tier title. Because that did a lot of good for Austin Theory, didn't it? '89 Tech, has Cody's reign been underwhelming so far? No. LA Knight's reign was underwhelming. Cody's is fine. Jeremy Rose with the $15. Stop hating on Shinsuke. He's about to get a major push, maybe even payback Roman for that hug that turned into an Uso super kick party to end a SmackDown a long time ago. It's a good day. Jeremy is in deep REM sleep. He's in the dream stage. So we'll leave him alone. Manuel Macias, do you think WrestleMania 41 will be as good as 39 and 40 or better? My first time attending. I'm hoping that it will be a fun event. Any tips for going? Yes, have fun. Don't worry about whether or not it's better than 39 or 40. Like, it's your first time going, like, just have fun with it. Like, you're going to go, I don't know where you're sitting, but you're going to be in this big-ass stadium. Plus, you're in Vegas, so it's going to be fun anyway, right? And if you've never been, you're going to have a lot of fun. It's going to be like probably nothing you've ever been to before. Do I think it's going to be better than the last two? I hope so, because the last two WrestleManias have been great. But I can't tell you because I don't know what the card is going to be. Michael says, Jay said Jimmy broke his toe on the splash. You know what? Maybe we need to have like a moratorium on diving off the top of the cages from now. Like, this goes for both companies. Maybe we should not be diving off the tops of cages. Maybe that's a good idea. Jeremy said was hoping for a Jacob Bronson tag team. Well, you're not going to get it now. Manuel Macias, did Punk make it out injury-free? I didn't watch. It appears so. It appears everybody else got hurt except CM Punk. Somehow, he may have evaded injury, and everybody else apparently is all banged up. Brandon Vasquez with the 10. Reed did not serve a purpose being in the match. It should have been Seth instead. He could have taken out Reed, replacing him, changing his mind to join the new bloodline to get at Punk along with Roman. It wouldn't have worked. I mean, he already made it clear he doesn't want a team with Roman, and he doesn't want a team with a Roman wannabe. So either way, he would have come out looking like a hypocrite. So he could not join either team. It would not have made sense for him or his character to go back on his word like that. Boney said, do you think Nakamura's defending on the Noah show? I'm not sure he makes it to the Noah show as champion. He could lose it on Saturday night's main event. But he's going to be, for those who don't know, he's wrestling on the New Year's Day show for Pro Wrestling Noah. Who's he wrestling? Ulka Sasaki? Is that who it is, I think? I'm not sure he makes it there as champion. Arabian Night, wish in the KO and Cody program that KO brought up Saturday night's main event could be his last match in WWE, bringing up rumors that he may leave in January, similar to Punk at Money in the Bank 2011. That would be an interesting little wrinkle into the storyline if he came into it saying, I'm a free agent in a few weeks and I don't know what I'm going to do. Or he could say, or I don't know if I want him to copy the Punk thing. Punk flat out said, like, I'm leaving. Like, I'm winning the title and I'm leaving. I don't know if I'd want to copy that directly and have him say the exact same thing, but yeah, I don't know what his actual status is. I'm sure he's either re-signed or he's going to. He's probably already re-signed. But if they wanted to, sure, yeah, they could incorporate it into the story. At this point, though, you know, the match is 2 weeks away. I don't know. At this point, it might feel a little forced. Might be a little late for that. Richie, there's a video of the Judgment Day beating up Damian Priest after the show. So they screw him out of the World Heavyweight Championship and then they beat the crap out of him when the show is over. What a loser. What a loser. Anis with the $9.99. Watch somehow, someway in the next several years, Tonga Loa becomes the face of the company. Low-key Major W. Julia Superfan just became a channel member. Welcome, Julia Superfan. Ross Lawman, membership still grayed out. We'll try again tomorrow. Yeah, I mean, if it's still active, if the gifted one is still active, you might have to wait for it to expire. I'm not sure. It should work though, but keep me posted on that. Yuri says Bronson getting injured would be tragic. He deserves flowers. Side note, the Punk versus Roman aspect going forward will be great. Yes. Yes, it will. And Tonga Loa Superfan says, just saying, Tonga Loa didn't get injured either. Goats know how to avoid injury. Yeah, he didn't get hurt because I think he did like the least amount in the match, which actually makes him smart. He might have been the smartest one in that match. See, he knew what he was doing. Good old Tonga Loa. People sleeping on Tonga Loa, man. He may come out of nowhere and impress some people the next time we see him in a singles match. We may see him do a Poison Rana. He may do a Spanish Fly off the top rope. Would you be willing to take a Spanish Fly off the top rope from Tonga Loa? Because I wouldn't. Well, we have gotten through. We got another one here. We got one more super chat. The Learning Sicko, Dr. Bropio, just saw footage of Punk assaulting his coworkers in the ring. Never mind, it was just War Games. I was going to say, Was Punk at the post-show scrum? Did he talk at the post-show scrum? Probably best to keep him away from those. Just because you never know. He seems happy now at work, but why take the chance, you know? Why ruin a good thing that they have going on? Why even take the chance? Well, we had 2 goals tonight, and you guys smashed them both. So I got to salute you for that. And that means we are doing not 1, but 2 rounds of Be the Booker. And that second round of Be the Booker is going to be a special one. But first, let's get round 1 out of the way. Let's begin.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is now time to Be the Booker.
There they are. The OG Bloodline, successful tonight in War Games. Now it is time for us to begin. Perhaps the biggest night ever of Be the Booker. I know this is what you've been waiting for. Let's get it done. We got a regular round to go first, and we begin with the former AEW World Tag Team Champions, The Acclaimed. Giving each other a good scissoring here. Max Caster and Anthony Bowens, who I think are headed for Splitsville. The Acclaimed going to be taking on the Street Profits. We got WWE versus AEW. Enjoy it, because this is as close as you're ever going to get to it. The Acclaimed and the Street Profits. Who you got in that match? I'm going with the Street Profits. Women's Be the Booker. Who could also be split? That's true. Better chance, I think, of the Acclaim splitting before the Street Profits, but yes, it's possible that 6 months from now, maybe neither one of those teams are together anymore. Street Profits, at least right now, they seem to be on the same page. But I got the Street Profits in that one. We begin with Mia Yim, or Michin, who has advanced, by the way, in the Women's U.S. title tournament. She will be meeting the winner of the match soon between Naomi, Tiffany Stratton, and Elektra Lopez, which I believe it should happen on Friday. And then the winner will meet Michin in the next round. And whoever wins that match, the match I just mentioned, which should be Naomi, I think will beat Michin and will wrestle Bayley in the finals. So let's see who Mia Yim is going to be stepping into the ring with. Fire Panda says, your future U.S. Women's Champion. I don't know about that. But it's going to be Mia Yim against Piper Niven. We just saw this match. We just saw this match last night. It was Mia Yim, it was Piper Niven, and it was Lash LaRue. Lash Legend. Not Lash LaRue. Lash Legend was in the match last night. Okay. Men's Be the Booker. Charlotte in the Bank says, great mid-card match. If you know, you know. Okay. Men's main event, we begin with, oh no. He's got all that Observer money. Look at this, the Rainmaker, the real Rainmaker. Money Meltzer. Dave Meltzer is in the main event of Be the Booker. And of course, look at what he's got behind him. He's got the New Japan Pro Wrestling emblem, which means he's probably at the Tokyo Dome as he's sitting there counting his money. Well, this is going to be very interesting. You know, there's a lot of people in Be the Booker who would love to get Dave Meltzer in the squared circle. So let's see who gets the lucky nod tonight. Dave Meltzer is going to go one-on-one with Al Bundy. Now, I'll bet of all the matches that have ever been booked in the history of wrestling, nobody ever thought to book a match between Dave Meltzer and Al Bundy. But I'll tell you who I think's going over in this match. I got my money on Al fucking Bundy. That's who I got my money on. 4 touchdowns in 1 game, poke high. Dave Meltzer doesn't stand a chance. Observe this, Dave. The only stars Dave Meltzer is going to be seeing are the ones circling his head when he gets done with Al Bundy. Bundy is an actual athlete. I don't know, Meltzer, man, he's got the big guns, man. He works out. He keeps himself in shape. That may be the most bizarre main event. But oddly, it's kind of a match I'd like to see. I'm not going to lie. Well, I bet you weren't expecting that. So there you go. And now that was round 1 of Be the Booker. We're not done yet. Because we have one more round yet to go. This is the bonus round. This is the special Survivor Series round of Be the Booker that has been unlocked here. It's a very smarky main event. It's a main event for the sickos. The sickos will love it. I'm sure they're going to greatly enjoy it. All right, so here's what we're going to do. We are going to book a traditional Survivor Series elimination style match with tag teams. So that's how we're going to start this out. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick 2 teams. That'll make 1 team. So we'll have 1 team with 2 tag teams and then a second team with 2 tag teams. So 8 people total. And that's what we're going to do. So we're basically booking 4 teams and dividing them up. So we're going to start out here with Team Hell No. Let's see what kind of match we can come up with here. Kane and Daniel Bryan. Former tag team champions. All right. Who are they going to be teaming with? This is kind of like a wild card match because we could have baby faces and heels and baby faces. Team Hell No is going to team up with Tajiri and William Regal. Okay. Regal and Daniel Bryan on the same team. That's something. 2 former members of the Blackpool Combat Club. Regal, Bryan, Kane, and Tajiri, or as Steve Austin would call him, Tajiri. I always liked it when he would call him Tajiri during the invasion angle. Okay, so that's 1 Survivor Series team. Now, I'll leave it up to you guys in the chat. Come up with a team name for them. I want a traditional Survivor Series team name for those 4. Come up with the best name in the chat. They're going to be stepping into the ring with the Lucha Brothers. Uh-oh. We have a problem, though. We have a problem. Tony Khan's not going to allow Rey Fenix to compete. This is a problem. Tony Khan is benching Rey Fenix. He's not working indies, and so we may not be able to book him. I'm not sure what we're going to do here, but all right. Well, we got the Lucha Bros. We'll keep them there for now. Lucha Brothers and the North. Ethan Page and Josh Alexander. That's a pretty good Survivor Series team right there. Who am I? Well, first of all, I got to give this the bell, of course. I mean, I'm trying to figure out who wins. I got to give it the bell. Who wins that? I gotta go. I gotta go with the Lucha Brothers in the North, I think, right? I'm going with the Lucha Bros and the North for the win. Team Lucha North. The Can Mex connection. Somebody mentioned Team WTF for the first team. I kind of like that one. The North-South. Okay, that's the winner right there. Roderick says the North-South connection for the Lucha Bros in the North. You win. That's their team name. Team WTF against the North-South Connection. See, I knew I could always rely on you guys. Okay, now, here's what we're going to do. Women's Be the Booker, we're booking a War Games match. We're going to try to book a women's War Games match better than the shit that we saw tonight, which shouldn't be too difficult. So it's going to be 5-on-5. So we're booking 10 women here. So we're going to run through this. Are you ready? Keep track of this. Here we go. Team number 1. We begin with AJ Lee. Look at this. We got AJ back before they did. AJ Lee and Asuka are going to be on the same team. Dakota Kai. No, we're not doing a triple threat match. We're not doing a triple threat match tonight. Okay, Asuka, AJ Lee, Dakota Kai, Timeless Tony Storm, oh, we were doing so well. And Mae Young. AJ Lee, Dakota Kai, Asuka, and Mae Young. And Timeless Tony. Actually, Timeless Tony Storm and Mae Young, they had some battles back in the day. Tony Storm talks a lot about wanting to get that bitch Wendy Richter back in the ring, but her battles with Mae Young are the stuff of legend. You want a real can they coexist story? There's your can they coexist story. Take Mae Young. No, we're not taking Mae Young out. She's in there. You don't like it? Too bad. She's in there. Mae Young off the top of the cage. She's going to do a dive off the top of the cage. Okay. That's one team. Come up with a name for them. Obviously, yes, Mae Young will start the match for her team. The other team will be Nikki Bella. Oh, AJ Lee and Nikki Bella, right? No love lost there. Oh, well, this is interesting. We have Kana. So we have Asuka on one side and we have Kana on the other. We haven't seen Kana in many years. I wonder whatever happened to her. Okay. All right. Very interesting. So we have Kana and we have Nia Jax. We have Julia. Wow, we have Kana and Julia on the same team. We got one more, right? Kana, we have Julia. And we have Medusa. Man, we got Medusa on one side and Mae Young on the other. But we got Nia Jax in there too, and Nia Jax did not look good at all tonight. She better have a better night here in this match than she did tonight at Survivor Series. I'm going with Team Mae Young, man. I can't bet against Mae. I can't. I can't bet against Mae Young. I'm sorry. And frankly, you know, the team with Nikki Bella and Nia Jax, I know Julia's on the team, but I'm sorry. I can't vote for that. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. All right. Main event time. It all comes down to this. You guys get a men's War Games match. This is the main event. This is the main event. Team number 1. Fatal 4-way. I'll give you guys the option. Do you want me to book a War Games match or do you want me to book a Fatal 4-way match? What would you like me to book here? Fatal 4-way or War Games? I'm giving you the option. A 4-team War Game. No, we're not doing a 4-team War Games. No, we're not. We're not doing that. No, we're not. Okay, everybody wants War Games, so we'll start again. All right. Nigel McGuinness. We got Nigel McGuinness. We got the Solomonster. I gotta do the same face. Look at that. The Solomonster is making his War Games debut, everybody. This is already a winning team right here, I could tell. You got me and Nigel McGuinness on the same team. Are you fucking kidding me? I could bell this shit right now. It's over. There's a little bit of a conflict of interest here, I will say, but it's over. We got Nigel McGuinness. We got Solomonster. Oh, for fuck's sake. David Arquette, the former WCW World Heavyweight Champion. You got David Arquette and Solomonster on the same team. Boy, Nigel's got a tall order here, depending on who these last two people are. Chad Gable was killed. Pick a stipulation to ease our pain. I did. It's called War Games. Sorry, Chad. Big Bronson Reed. With 2 broken ankles, this poor bastard now is back in War Games tonight. Nigel McGuinness, Bronson Reed, Solomonster, David Arquette. I'm afraid to even pick who the 5th person is going to be. Oh, for fuck's sake. Oh my God. Oh no. Oh no. This is the worst War Games team I have ever seen. Oh my God. Oh my God. Solomonster, David Arquette, Mantar, Bronson Reed, and Nigel McGuinness. I can't believe this is a real team. I can't believe. I don't want Mantar on my team. I already gave it the buzzer. Do we even need to pick another team? Nigel McGuinness and Bronson Reed, they have no chance. It's going to be a long night for those two. Poor Nigel, he came out of retirement for this. He's going to go right back into retirement. Pretend he's the Beast Mortos. All right, let's see. Oh, you know what? I have to add him. I don't think he's in there. I'm going to have to add him in to be the booker. Thank you for reminding me. I have to put the Beast Mortos and be the booker. All right, we're going to be taking on Hiroshi Tanahashi. Oh, man, we're already behind the 8 ball here. Hiroshi Tanahashi. Sami Zayn. Booker T. Yokozuna. Can he even fit through the door? Tanahashi, Sami Zayn, Booker T, Yokozuna. I guess we'll do a drum roll for this. Why even bother? We've already lost. And Eddie Guerrero. I mean, of course, we're done. Like, we're done. We should just forfeit the fucking match. I already gave it the buzzer. You can't give a bell to a match that has me and Mantar and David Arquette on the same team. I don't give a shit who's on the other side of the ring. It's over. Solomonster off the top of the cage. I may take a header off the top of the cage just to fucking off myself because this is so awful. What a team. What an absolute dog shit team I ended up on. But you know what? It could always be worse. I could have ended up on a team with Russo since he's in there. It could have been me and Russo and David Arquette. I'll take Mantar. That was a Hall of Fame edition of Be the Booker, but for all the wrong reasons. Yoko with a bonsai on Solo. I'll take the bonsai. I'll take the tsunami splash. I'll take a high fly flow. Frog splash. We got Yuri with a $5 super chat. Owen Hart versus Triple H would be my I hated you as a kid Be the Booker match. Ironically, all because HBK, mainly, angles. What does it say? Add Mick for Triple H and Austin for Owen. LOL. Ross says, Punk having a, quote, meltdown in the scrum with muffins. Oh boy, I'm getting deja vu. Also, I hope WWE EVPs watch out. Omega is there to keep Larry safe. Yuri says, Meltzer definitely sits hands down pants as he reports, like Al Bundy. NWO. Oh yeah, I forgot about that already. I'm so blinded by that awful War Games team. I forgot we also booked an Al Bundy Dave Meltzer main event tonight. This has been quite the night. Matt says now you have to book a third team. No, I don't. I really don't. Richie says if there was a Marvel versus DC War Games, who would you pick on each side? Marvel? I mean, you got to have Spider-Man. You got to have Captain America. Iron Man, Hulk. Is that 4? I would have Magneto. And then on the DC side, you got Batman, you got Superman, you got the Joker. Is Bane is DC, right? Bane? I'd go Bane. And maybe the Riddler. I don't know. I grew up with the Riddler, so maybe we'll go with the Riddler. Why not? Learning Sicko, Dr. Bropio, says, at least Be the Booker booking the women better than Tony Khan. Well, that's debatable. Oh, Wolverine. Yeah, how can I forget about Wolverine? The Learning Tree. Thank you again. Yuri says, it's all to promote Solomonster in the new Scream. Todd Warner, 23 months of membership, says, it's like a gimmick battle royal War Games. It really is. It really is. It really is. You picked the Riddler over Deadpool and Wolverine. It's the first thing that came to mind. Luis says Eddie Guerrero saved it. Not even Eddie, as great as he was, could save that main event. Retro KOH, they gave you the man advantage for free. Nigel says F this and goes to the commentary table. I don't blame him. Ian Noel says team you could beat. Heel Cole, Vince Russo, Jonathan Coachman, and James Ellsworth. Yeah, I could take heel Michael Cole. And Yuri says, I meant that I hated Owen and Triple H for angles with HBK. I see. Well, we are all caught up on your super chats, and I'm still staggered from that Be the Booker. It's going to take a while for me to recover from that, but thank you for smashing both goals that we had tonight. You guys blasted right through it, and you guys came out hot and heavy with the support. Over 900 likes here and counting on the live stream. That's awesome. Thank you for tuning in here for the Survivor Series review. I'm going to be back with you tomorrow because we have a podcast to do. So I'm going to be recording episode 890 of the Sound Off in mere hours, and I will hopefully have that up by mid-afternoon. It could be a little bit later in the afternoon, but keep an eye out in the afternoon for the podcast. That'll be on Spreaker, Spotify, Apple Podcast, anywhere you get your podcasts. Definitely give that a download. Leave a comment, leave some love. Raph coming in with a membership message. Says, thank you for Be the Booker. I haven't laughed that hard in a long time. Unrelated, I hope the election outcome does not mean Vince McMahon goes unpunished or comes back. Well, like Bad News Barrett, I got some bad news for you. There is still a civil case pending against Vince. He can't get out of that. But anything federal that may have possibly come out, it's over. It's over. So you can kiss that goodbye. But again, he still has a lawsuit pending against him. So that lawsuit, by the way, is frozen until December 11th, unless the feds want to extend the pause. I mean, they agreed to pause it until December 11th. That's coming up. And that may expire, and then they can move ahead with the lawsuit if that's what they choose to do. Janelle Grant and her attorney, so we'll see how that turns out. But yeah, I think Vince could sleep a little bit easier than he would have been able to a few months ago. Anyway, be well, stay safe. I will see you for episode 890. Hit your like button if you would on your way out. And thank you again for all of the love tonight. Very much appreciated. I will see you guys tomorrow for the podcast. Until then, take care, guys.